4th down and 6. Olbridge, gotta have it. Shotgun formation. Nugent, a lot of time. Rolls out. He's running out of space. Will roll the other way. They look, corner of the end zone. Touchdown!
Rowan heading for the touchpad with the lead. And the Profs will take the men's 400-yard freestyle relay.
Andrews will be in shotgun. He takes the snap, fakes the handoff. He'll throw it down the left sideline. He's got a wide open receiver. He's got the touchdown.
Motion man is Simmons. Trotman throwing towards Simmons down the field, and he makes the catch in traffic for a Bearcats touchdown.
Back to pass, middle of the field. The catch is made by Britt. She's off to the races at the 40, the 30, the 20, the 10. Britt is in for the score.
Back on in, here's Yoxie. Yoxie to the backhand, trying to go to the front, makes the move and shot, and he scores!
And Gracie comes set and delivers. And that's it on the ground to second. Throw to first, in time, and the ball game is over. South Shore survives a late scare, and they are the 2024 New York State Little League Baseball champions.
Live from East Rockaway High School in East Rockaway, New York, PDF Sports Network is proud to welcome you into coverage of New York Crusaders football and coverage of the Big East. This afternoon, the New York Crusaders, coming in with a record of 0-1, take on the New York Corrections Department, New York's Boldest, right here in East Rockaway. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm David Pizzuto alongside Joe Foreman. And Joe, a little bit of a departure from what we're used to here. The Crusaders taking on a non-Big East opponent in a game that does count towards the Big East standings. They take on New York's Boldest.
Well, new venue for us, a first look at a new team for us in New York's Boldest, and our first look at the Crusaders this season here on PDF. We've spoken about it off air. We'll talk about it again shortly. But this Crusaders team was originally scheduled to have played 2 games by this point in the season. However, they have yet to play a game on the field, unfortunately 0-1 as the result of a field issue. They take the field in game action for the first time today. I'm looking forward to seeing them, as the last time we covered this team was in the Big East Championship last year.
That's right, and we're going to talk about that in just a moment, Joe. But I wanted to ask you about that auspicious start for the Crusaders. You know, a lot of people in Crusaders camp, a lot of people who follow this team believe that this team had a really strong chance to start the season 2-0. They had the Mount Vernon Kings in week 1. The Kings ended up days before the season folding their team, so the Crusaders end up getting a week 1 bye. And then in week 2, they host the Brooklyn Bengals, a team that they defeated last year during Big East play. Because of that aforementioned field issue, Joe, they were made to take the forfeit loss. So here we are, week 3 into the season. A lot of people thought this team would be 2-0. Instead, Joe, they're 0-1, and they haven't played a down of football.
Well, obviously not the start to the season you're looking for if you're the Crusaders. That being said, you can't take the 0-1 record for anything more than what it is. Obviously, a field issue, nothing that you can control, at least in most cases, and you suffer the loss for that reason. But you get a chance to show what you can do on the field here today against New York's Boldest, a team that is highly regarded, that plays in a very competitive league. The Crusaders will be tested today for sure, but it should be an entertaining game and a big opportunity for this New York Crusaders team to show what kind of team they are, coming off a berth in the Big East Championship last year. In that game, which was ended a bit prematurely in the second half, they showed us some good things in the second half. It was not a favorable score for them at halftime. I believe it was 21-0, if memory serves. Either way, it was close, 22-0. But the Crusaders, in that second half, when the game got going again, they started to move the football, and we saw some good things from them in the second half of that game, and they hope to see more of that carry over into this season, as well as their success throughout last season, as you get a look at the full 2025 standings on on your screen now.
Yeah, and what you'll notice about the standings, Joe, what people at home should be noticing is that the top 6 teams in the Big East make the playoffs. The top 2 teams will get that first round bye, and then that leaves the 3 teams to play the 6, the 4 to play the 5. And the reason why we talk about playoffs this early, Joe, is because, starting next week, you're officially in mid-season. Most of the teams are going to play between 7 and 8 games. We think that might right itself out as the season goes, and perhaps every team will play the full 8. Of course, the Mount Vernon Kings threw a wrench into some of that, but it doesn't leave you a lot of time to kind of figure things out, Joe. And right now, as you can see, the Crusaders kind of tied for 6th place right now. Again, that'll sort itself out over the next few weeks, but a game like this, even though it's against a non-conference opponent, it will count towards the Crusaders standard, so it makes a difference.
It sure does, and obviously with this game counting in the standings, it means everything to this Crusaders team. It is the first time you take the field this year, as we mentioned. That's always a big game. However, it is your first opportunity to get into the win column this season, and of course that's important. This is one of several games that will take place this week as we get a look here at this week's schedule in the Big East. You see the Lions take on the Bengals. The Lions and Bengals both already in the win column. We have our game getting started in about 5 to 10 minutes between the Crusaders and Corrections, also the Dolphins and the Wolfpack in action. We got to look at the Wolfpack here on PDF a couple of weekends ago. The Black Panthers then take on the Golden Lions, and our final game of the week, it is a bye for the Hurricanes here in the 3rd week of the Big East season.
Yeah, and we should say that the Green Wave also on a bye, but I believe they are playing a different opponent this week. I'm just not sure about that. But yeah, definitely you see it line up. And again, starting next week, every team will have played at least a couple of games. So we'll kind of have a little bit of a better mosaic of how this Big East Conference is ending up. And games all spread all throughout the day today. So we hope that some other ones are live streaming as well, so you could bounce around. But we should have a good one here between the Crusaders and Corrections. We may as well take a look at the Crusaders a little bit in a nutshell here from last year in case you're unfamiliar with the program or their appearance in the Big East. This is their 2nd season in what is year 2 of the Big East. They finished last year during the regular season, Joe, 3-3, so 3 up and 3 down. They finished in 3rd, but they had probably the most punctuating win of the season when they beat the Empire State Wolfpack in the semifinals. The Wolfpack had beaten them during the regular season, and that 14-12 game was a surprise for a lot of people. Now you see the score in the loss to the Patriots. So coming in as a team to beat, Joe, after that semifinal win, and B, a little bit of a chip on their shoulder, especially given how 2024 ended.
Yeah, no question about it, Dave. And we got to look at what that Wolfpack team can do. During the games a couple of weeks ago, they put forth a very strong performance. So that says a lot about what this Crusaders team was able to do against them in the playoffs. Very often, these teams do look similar from year to year. A lot of players typically return in this small but very tight-knit semi-professional football community. So that Crusaders team that defeated the Wolfpack team looks fairly similar to the team that took the field last year, and they picked up a big win, a win that you said many considered an upset in the postseason. The official final score in that game against the Patriots in the final 22-0, as you mentioned. But as I mentioned as well before, the Crusaders did do a lot of good things in the second half of that game before that one was ultimately cut short. Obviously, you can't put too much stock in a team's first in-game action of the season. That will, of course, be the case for the Crusaders here today as well. But they're looking to make a statement earlier in the season. There's a big difference between going out in Week 1 and scoring a blowout win versus going out in Week 1 and taking it on the chin and suffering a lopsided loss. So, at the very least, the Crusaders would like to be a part of a close competitive game today, and a game that really showcases what this team is all about to the rest of the league and to the viewers watching at home on the PDF Sports Network.
Yeah, and you talk about making a statement. They have an opportunity to make a statement against a very strong organization here, Joe, as we take a little bit of a look at the Department of Corrections here. Just a moment. We don't know a lot about this team, but here's what we can tell you, that they do play in the National Public Safety Athletic League, the NPSAL. And for those of you who are familiar, that is a very, very competitive league spread out across the United States, mainly here in the mid portion and the East, with New York's finest and New York's bravest as well. They're not a member of the Big East, but the game does count towards the standings. So they play in the upper division of the MPSAL too, Joe. I believe there are 7 teams that play in Division 1. There are a few others that play in Division 2. So this Boldest team, we don't know a lot about them. We don't have a lot of tape on them. We don't have a lot of statistics from last year or years past, but they have a plentiful squad. We got to see them practice a little bit when we first got here, Joe, and the Crusaders are definitely going to have their hands full today. And again, an opportunity to make a really good statement.
And something else that we do know, it looks like the Department of Corrections really knows how to make an entrance. So perhaps our camera operator up top, Vinny, can get us a look at New York's Boldest taking the field. And I have to say, Dave, their color palette matching very well with East Rockaway High School, a great fit. This, of course, the home of the Rocks, but it is the home to New York's Boldest here today as they take on a Crusaders team playing in their first game of the season. We've been very much looking forward to this matchup. We thought we'd get a look at the Crusaders sooner than this, but we made the trip to a new venue. Very hospitable was the crew here when we arrived as well. That was great, very helpful to us, and we hope to have some great football on deck coming up shortly.
Yeah, and listen, I don't want to speak to any of the other games that are going on, but we definitely have, I think, the best looking game this week as far as uniform kits. Everybody wearing the same thing. The Crusaders, their numbers are prominent on their slate gray jerseys with that iconic red. You got Syracuse-esque corrections team in front of us, and it is a gorgeous facility here. And Joe, you said it, the people here at East Rockaway, home of the Rocks, been great to us here since we entered. We got here a little bit late, actually. We could thank the Belt Parkway for that, but so far so good, and we should have a really nice looking game for you here today, as I believe they're going to do the national anthem as well. So if they do, Joe, we'll step aside and acknowledge our nation's flag, and then we'll get this one started.
And it does look like that is indeed going to be the case right now. So what we will do as the national anthem is about to be played is step aside and take a quick break. On the other side of that short break, the Crusaders take on New York's Boldest right here on the PDF Sports Network.
Attention local businesses and professionals. Isn't it time to elevate your game? Now you can advertise your business or product on PDF Sports Network. Your ad will appear on all of our broadcasts, including this one. Don't have a commercial? We'll make one for you, absolutely free. What better way to showcase your product and brand while supporting the best local sports, teams, and leagues? Call now at 732-723-8189 or visit us at pdfsportsnet.com.
Multiple studies have shown that marijuana can slow both driver reaction and response time, which can be really dangerous. He's here. He's here. Wait. What? I can't drive. Why? My. Oh.
You know I'm right. The podcast that uncovers the origin stories of some of the biggest names in sports, media, and entertainment. Nick Durst here along with Joe Calabrese. We're coming to you from fabulous Las Vegas. And on our show, we always are trying to ask our guests how they got to where they are today in their careers. So, Joe, I want to ask you, how did we get to where we are today? What were your thoughts when I approached you to join the podcast?
So both Nick and I, we work in media, right? And February, March 2020, the pandemic happened. Everything was shutting down. The world was shutting down. What did we decide to do? We decided to be proactive. Nick approached me with this podcast, an idea, and I'll be honest, at first, I thought he was crazy. I didn't think it would work out. But here we are, 200 episodes later, about 150 episodes with guests, our friends, soon to be your friends. This is so much bigger than either of us could have ever imagined it being. And right now we're here in the beautiful Las Vegas. We're on a business trip. All we're doing is growing. You're gonna see us in more cities coming very, 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 very soon. And Nick, we always end the podcast like this, so Now it is my turn to ask you, what is your "you know I'm right" moment? So what Nick means by that, he's always asked the question. Now it's my turn to ask. What we mean by that is a time in your career where somebody said, you know what, Nick, I think you got to do this a certain way. And you were like, no, I'm going to do it my way, just like Frankie Sinatra. And ultimately, you're going to see why it is that I'm right.
Well, it's pretty clear, Joe, that it's all about You Know I'm Right, the podcast. That's my You Know I'm Right moment. Wanted to do a podcast, and everyone was like, what are you, crazy? Who's going to listen? You're not going to get guests. Well, guess what? I'm the best when it comes to getting guests. You could vouch for that. Got incredible people on. We're growing here. And now we got our own merch. Tell everybody where they get the merch, Joe.
Go to our socials, YKIR Podcast on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. We're on everything. You can get nice cotton shirts. You can get nice snapback hats. I am so happy that you asked me to do this. I couldn't have been more thrilled. And follow us on socials. Check us out. I promise you, if you want to work in media, whether you work in media now, whether you want to quit your job and work in media, come to us, and I promise you, we will get you on the right foot.
That's what it's all about, uncovering the origin stories of some of the biggest names in sports, media, and entertainment. Keep it locked on You Know I'm Right.
Our national anthem here means a little bit more in a game like this with our civil servants on full display here. We thank all of our players here for their service on the near sideline. And over on the far sideline, the New York Crusaders, who we expect to see quite a bit of this year. And as we move forward in the Big East as well, had a chance, Joe, I'm sure, you were able to see the season opening kickoff that put 4 teams on display. And the Crusaders had the benefits of kind of sitting back and watching all 8 other teams play between the doubleheader in the Bronx and the other one in Connecticut. And now it's their turn to really be on display for the first time.
Well, it's very unique that we see at the semi-professional level an entire league's worth of games getting streamed in the same weekend. Our friends over at HSG and, of course, us here on the PDF Sports Network having the privilege to stream those games. It was a good time for you and John, I know. I was able to watch from back at home. And the Crusaders now, as you said, on display for the rest of the league to see, at least those teams that aren't playing right now, as we are just moments away from opening kickoff.
Yeah, and it's the first time we're going to see the new kickoff rules in effect as well. The Big East, of course, still using the conventional kickoff or the traditional kickoffs, but this is a corrections home game as that ball scattered off the tee right before Andrew Fusco was going to deliver the foot into it. Crusaders will go with Joshua Jefferson back deep, along with Michael Lewis, and it is in Lewis's direction. We'll see if it gets to him. It does not, as that one will be a procedural foul against the Crusaders to start things off.
Well, I'd say it was almost fortunate for Boldest that the Crusaders didn't scoop that ball up because it would have gone out of bounds. The Crusaders could have let that ball bounce out of bounds had that play been continued through its conclusion. But you know what, Dave? I think they did rule that it landed out of bounds at one point because they're spotting the ball at the 40.
Yeah, I think it needs to travel past the 30 perhaps because, that's where the teams
outside
are
of the landing
up.
zone. Outside of the landing zone.
Right.
That's it.
So the Crusaders will start 1st and 10 at their own 40-yard line, so they have to like that, obviously. So here we go. It'll be, looks like Charles McCray will do the quarterbacking duties for the Crusaders. Do have a few players who are wearing the same number on the Crusaders, but for the most part, do have everybody on their bench accounted for in terms of number. We do not have positions listed for the Crusaders, but we're going to get to learn these young men on the fly and as we go. And I'm sure at some point, Joe, we'll talk about the last time we saw the Crusaders in that championship game. Like you mentioned, it was 22-0 at half. The game ended up being suspended in the third quarter of the same score, but Crusaders were just starting to move the football when they did. Meanwhile, we'll have a run and actually, that was a fumble, and that ball came out, and it was scooped up by the Boldest about 4 or 5 yards up the field. And it was Jermaine Wilson who came up with it. And I'll tell you what, Joe, it looked like it was either Omar Sila or Shatik Bennett on the carry. number 7, and it just looked like he had met a couple of folks in the backfield right there. That hit jarred the ball forward, and you could see hats to the ball at exactly the 40-yard line and scooped up at the 42. So the Crusaders' opening drive goes one play and a fumble, and that is not the way you want to start things out here if you're the Crusaders.
Certainly not, Dave. And I'm getting a look on the replay. It was a completely unforced error. That would have been a loss of 5 on the play regardless, but the ball was fumbled without the ball carrier being contacted. And obviously that's an unacceptable, unforced mistake. And with that, New York's Boldest take over.
They sure do, and on a short field to boot. Skinner in the shotgun formation. He'll take it and perhaps will run with it himself. Blockers down the field. The Crusaders get there from behind at first and limit Skinner to 5 yards. Good job of tracking him down from behind by Malik Sanders. And I'm sorry, that was Lamonte Addles, the quarterback, number 5. Forgot to shift my rosters around.
So officially that's going to be about a 2nd and 5, but man, Dave, if you're the Crusaders, that is not the way you want to start your season. And I think you can try and swing that momentum and try and change the feeling on that sideline just a bit with a defensive stand here.
2nd down and 5 as Addles was able to get around right tackle for the 5 yards. Didn't look like anything was really developing for him, but managed to get 5 out of that. Joining him in the backfield, Nicholas Threadgill to the left of Addles. Addles continues to work out his shotgun, gives to Threadgill right up the middle, past the 35, gets a seam, and is inside the 25-yard line before he got tripped up. Nicholas Threadgill right up the pipe. Now, there is a red flag down at about the 37, but looked like that was one of the towels from one of the players.
Orange, red, same thing as we get a quick look at that carry once again ahead of this first down snap.
Yeah, right through the heart of that offensive line, which Corrections believes will move people. And the give is again to Threadgill, and this time he gets hit right at the line of scrimmage and brought down. I believe that was Skinner who brought him down. But a good, hard couple of yards for Threadgill.
Something I noticed on the first drive for the Crusaders, their first huddle was a very, very long offensive huddle. New York's Boldest moving pretty quickly, not moving with tempo, but they're getting out of the huddle and back to the line of scrimmage fairly quick.
And 3 straight runs to open up this drive, you think leading potentially to play action here. 4 wide receivers in the game. And now Threadgill goes to the right, and it's thrown out in the flat. Past the 20, inside the 15, and close to the 10. Run and catch and run by Darren Wesley. Wesley also plays defensive back for this Corrections team. Just a simple throw and catch into the flat, Joe, and then the downfield blocking does the rest. First down.
Well, you get a look here at the pre-snap motion. Threadgill sent to the right side, and that just takes your eyes away from where that play is actually going. If you're the Crusaders defense, nicely designed play by New York's Boldest, and they are now down just outside of the 10.
Right, I was going to say they can pick up a first down without scoring a touchdown here as that ball spotted just outside the 10. Good hard count that time by Addles, and it may have gotten the Crusaders into the neutral zone. Either that or it kind of locked up Garrick Miller, who was lined up to the outside, and he has a long look at the officiating crew here as perhaps maybe he took a step forward. We'll see. It's offside against the defense.
There were a lot of Crusaders near the line of scrimmage, and I think if you look right here, you can see where the penalty was committed, Dave. Right on the edge.
Right there it is, yep. Just that simple step over the line.
Now, a lot of the time, you are able to get back in that situation. Yep. Not here.
Unless they felt it induced a flinch from the offensive line as well.
Of course.
In any event, 1st and 5 now inside the 10. Ball spotted just outside the 5. It will continue to be Threadgill in the backfield with Addles, and now we have a timeout whistled, and it is called by the Crusaders.
And I think that's probably a good timeout, of course, fresh off the penalty, which you never want to see. But Department of Corrections moving the ball right down the field on their opening drive. It started in plus territory. They are now deep inside the red zone. And the Crusaders, given the way this game started, really could use a stop in this spot. Of course, you could always use one, but given the fact that you received the opening kickoff, lost possession immediately, a stop becomes that much more important on the opening drive right now. And early in this possession, they really haven't shown any signs of slowing down New York's Boldest.
Yeah, and so many times, Joe, when you and I get together or whenever we call games here, we talk about teams hurting themselves as well. And in the two categories where you can do that easiest is by turning the ball over and taking penalties, especially the pre-snap penalties. And the Crusaders are already 2 in the hole in that department. Their first play of the game results in a fumble. And, of course, they've taken the penalty here to set the Boldest up 1st and 5 from the 6. So it's hard to take yourself off the mat when you have those punches thrown at you.
Yeah, and a team's resilience is obviously a major measure of what kind of quality that team is. And if you're the Crusaders here, you need to find a way to bounce back from that early miscue. It is early. That's the good news. The bad news here is that they are facing a potential deficit early in this first quarter.
So Adels will continue to work out of the shotgun here. Threadgill in with him. Also creeping up to the line of scrimmage, Donnell Lazar. And it's going to be a straight keeper from Adels, and a good job by the Crusaders to kind of stand up at the 5, and there was really nowhere for him to get through. It'll be 2nd down and 4 coming up.
Here's another look at that quarterback keeper. Really not much deception there. Snap it straight to your quarterback and power forward. Nicely done there on that play by the Crusaders defensively to take out the legs of the quarterback there and make sure that he couldn't go any further.
Yeah, we do have 2 number 2s for the Crusaders. It was Anthony Parkins or Tariq Porter, both doing, or whoever it was, indeed wearing number 2 on the defense, doing a good job of kind of sitting down at the 5 and waiting for Adels to come to him, cutting off Adels from going wide right, had to cut his run back up, and was stonewalled about the same area of the field, just outside the 5. The give to Threadgill underneath. The Crusaders are there, and now a second wave to finish off Threadgill once again outside the 5, and it'll be 3rd down.
We'll get a look at it again here on replay, but that was great backside pursuit of the ball carrier by the Crusaders defensively. They had multiple players in the offensive backfield, one from in front of the ball carrier, another from the backside of that play, and they blew that one up straight through the line of scrimmage up the middle in that A gap, and no chance for that play to go anywhere. 3rd down.
Yeah, Justin Black was the individual who finished him off there, but here we go, 3rd down and about 4 yards here from just outside the 5. They need to get to the 1-yard line. 4 wide receivers now, actually 5 if you include Threadgill, who's right inside or outside the tight end. The look left, now right. Adels steps up in the pocket, looking back in the end zone, touchdown. They hook up. And the catch was made by Aron Augustus, who started at the far pylon, Joe, and then recognizing that Adels was moving in the pocket, comes back to the inside, and Adels makes some extra room for himself and finishes off the play.
And you'll see that again right here on the replay, Dave. And he might have had his pick here. Did he want to carry it in? Did he want to throw it? The Crusaders got caught a bit flat-footed in the end zone underneath, and that opened up that space in the back left corner of the end zone as the receiver on the play, Wesley, came across the back line and was able to make the catch wide open for the touchdown. Nicely done there by Department of Corrections extending that play. Good job by Adels and his wideout in the end zone.
Yeah, take your pick. Wesley was there along with Augustus, and they kind of crisscross, and now the extra point goes awry on the snap, and that extra point dead to rights there as Fusco never was able to get his leg into it. Failed extra point keeps it at 6-0.
Here's a look at that once again as the extra point miscue there, and tough to tell if it was blocked.
I thought it was a snap at first, but yeah, it looked like it
was
never settled down enough for Fusco to get under it, so it was, I think, just a line
To
drive.
me, it looked like he kicked it off of one of the Crusaders or perhaps one of his own linemen. It was blocked.
Indeed, yeah, it was
clearly blocked. Trying to get a look at who it was on the replay that blocked it. It's almost as if the player who got in there didn't know that he had, but it was Malik Sanders who came in and was able to block that extra point.
All right, so a little bit of a silver lining after that tough opening drive against the Crusaders. They, for what it's worth, Joe, they did have to force Adels to step up in the pocket and manufacture some more time because he was under a little bit of duress in the backfield. But Adels doing a nice job of tiptoeing around the line of scrimmage, and the rest of his wide receivers kind of improvising in the back of the end zone.
We saw a little bit of everything on that drive from Department of Corrections. They were able to run the ball with Threadgill. We saw Adel's ability as a ball carrier, and then his ability to extend that play down around the goal line and convert for the touchdown.
That one ends up bouncing at the 10 and fielded clean by the Crusaders and getting walloped and taking a hit just inside the 20. The Crusaders fail to get back there. A good hit by the touchdown scorer, Aaron Augustus. It was number 14.
Did I mistakenly say that Wesley scored?
What happened was, Joe, both Wesley was coming in from the pylon in, and Augustus was coming in from the center of the end zone, towards the pylon, and it was actually Augustus that got to it. But I think either one of them could have caught that ball. But it was Augustus who caught it, number 14.
Well, that's a nice way of saying, Joe, you were wrong.
Oh, well. I know at first I was the one who was wrong, Joe, because I said that Augustus's route started at the pylon, and then he kind of cut in, and I was wrong. It was Augustus who actually made the catch, who cut in from the middle of the end zone out. So 6 one, half dozen of the other. We said both of them, so works out. So the Crusaders, who started their first drive at the 40, have to start this one at their own 20. They didn't really execute a play on their first drive. First play of the game was a fumble. It is McCray to take the snap, and he gives right up the middle. And even that one, Joe, a little bit tough to get into the midsection of, I thought it was number 28 on the carry, but we don't have a 28 on our roster, unfortunately.
When you get the kind of push up front that Department of Corrections has gotten early in this game, there's really not much you can do on a play like that. There's nowhere for the ball carrier to go there. And the snap was also a bit high. That extra half a second, maybe even less than that it takes to complete that exchange matters on a play like that where your opponent is getting a lot of push up front.
Once again, it is Charles McCray working out of the shotgun, number 28 to his left. Unfortunately, that is not a number that's occupied on our roster here for the Crusaders, so unfortunately we don't have a name there, but the give is once again underneath to the back, and there's just nothing much going on there. On the ground low to make the stop was Dustin Griffin, and then up top it was Darryl Polk to finish him off.
Yeah, Dave, that was an ugly leg injury, I believe. You could see at the bottom of the pile during the play. Yeah, this might be a bad one.
And it is the halfback who's on the ground, number 28, clutching that left foot or that left shin area.
I think the best case here is an ankle sprain.
Well, this will undoubtedly lead to a stoppage in play here, and the Crusaders, after all of this, will be facing a 3rd down and 12, and perhaps for the first time will have to put the ball in the air. But I'll tell you what, no matter what, it looks as if Corrections is getting in early in the backfield. Really, the ball carriers, Joe, for the Crusaders haven't been able to make a move past the line of scrimmage and have had to make, in fact, 1 or 2 cuts just to get back to the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, I'm not going to replay that last one, given the nature of how the play ended, but I saw it in real live action. The leg bent away. It was not supposed to beneath the pile. I think there's definitely the chance that it was an ankle injury, but it looked worse than that, and I won't speculate beyond that point. But
well, obviously no weight being put on it, but good to see at least hopping off the field is 28.
Did not look good, Dave.
So the Crusaders, who they had a fumble on their opening drive, and a ball carrier was number 7, who we believe is Omar Sila or Shatik Bennett, one of the two. They both wear 7 for this Crusaders team, and now they're down another one of their running backs. And if they don't get out of the shadows here of their own end, they're going to be forced into a punting situation and giving the corrections department their second short field of the quarter. We have 8:03 and counting to go here in the first quarter. Boldest on top, 6-0. 5.5-yard touchdown pass. Adels to Augustus on their first opening drive. 3rd and 12 here coming up for the Crusaders. In motion is Wells, going from left to right, And swinging in that direction is McCray. He's going to want it all on this play towards the sideline. Did they stay in bounds? No, but it looks like a flag is coming in a little bit late.
So the first question is, did he catch it? I did not see a signal. Very tough to tell whether or not the receiver's feet stayed in. Now, I believe it's 1 foot rule, Dave, in the Big East?
I believe so, yes.
It is very close.
It was Jefferson who was the intended receiver, and to give him credit, it looked like he really knew where he was on the field and was trying to toe that line.
That's a look at full speed. We're going to slow it down.
Now, replay-wise, it looked like he was out of bounds, but obviously the result of the play being a pass interference here, and we'll see the interference too. Does Jefferson have the ability to make that catch, or was it a hit out of bounds? Perhaps.
Well, let's back it up and see if he was contacted on the way up the field. We'll play it at regular speed. I'm not sure how much we'll see of what occurred down the field, but let's get a look one more time before this next snap. And I don't think you're going to see much here. No apparent contact.
Well, Joe, we just got word it's a personal foul at the end of that play that led to the flag. So instead of getting the Crusaders off of the field, it's a 15-yard penalty. The Crusaders, obviously, with that, an automatic first down. Although the down marker says second, we think it's first, and it's right.
Don't be so sure.
I had a little adventurous in our Big East opening doubleheader with down and distance, but indeed, first down and 10. Confirmation from the scoreboard. Ball placed at the 33-yard line here for the Crusaders. Big first down. Converted on that last one. The give is underneath, and we have another flag down in the backfield. Good job getting out of one tackle, and almost a few more by DeJuan Skinner. Skinner ended up getting about 4 or 5 on the play, but we'll have to see what the result of this flag is.
Well, a flag at the line of scrimmage usually isn't a great sign for the offense unless it was pre-snap.
Yeah, and it was.
And it came in quick.
Yeah, that was a hole. We'll see if we can pick it up. Oh, yeah. See it actually down the field. It occurred at about the 35-yard line, Joe. It's clear as day. It was number 17, Devon Stevens, who had a big hold of the jersey and swung his man around. Watch the 35 and number 17.
I want to say the hold occurred on number 21 of the defense.
Well, okay, against number 21 of the defense.
Yes.
Well, 1st and 10 becomes a 1st and 20 here, and we talk about those penalties being a big factor in games like this and how they'll rear their ugly head. We'll see if the Crusaders can get out of this hole now, eliminating what was a 5-yard gain by Skinner. McCray out of the shotgun. 4 wide receivers, and McCray is going to look to throw. He's got a good pocket, and he's going to look near sideline. Breaking on and making the play was Jefferson, and he's knocked out of bounds by Wilson, but not before a huge gain just outside the Corrections 30-yard line.
The first big play of the season for the Crusaders comes in the passing game. Here's another look at it on replay. Nicely done. Great pass protection. McCray had time. You said it, a great pocket. And then down the field, he finds Jefferson, Joshua Jefferson, looking like Justin Jefferson on that play, Dave. Well done by the Crusaders offense. And boy, did they need that big play, as now they find themselves just outside the 30-yard line, still trailing by 6, but with plenty of life now on the offensive side of the ball.
46 yards on the pass play. And it all starts with the protection for McCray on the play, hooking up with Jefferson, who he was looking at on the right sideline on the couple of plays previous that got them the first down on the personal foul. Now they start work at the Corrections 31-yard line. High snap, McCray tracks it down, extends to the right. That pass low and incomplete. I think he was looking for Jefferson again.
Well, they got the look they wanted on that play, Dave. They got Jefferson open in the flat. I do agree with you. I believe that was him sprinting across the field, but you'll see it here on replay. Once again, they move McCray out of the pocket, that rolling pocket that we see quite often with the quarterback moving toward his strong hand, and he just missed the throw on that one.
Yeah. Pass was low and into the turf there. Not much that Jefferson could do there. 6:19 to go, opening quarter. Boldest up 6-0.
And what we've been doing on our screen, we've been flashing the time up on the scoreboard every once in a while rather than trying to keep the clock manually up here in the box. But from time to time on your screen and throughout all of each of the final 2 minutes in each half, we will have the time for you.
So McCray out of the shotgun once again. Looks like it is a single back set, but he's going to run again to the right, looking towards the sideline, and that one is too far extended over the head and out of bounds. We'll see who the intended receiver was. It was Jefferson again, and it looked like Jefferson was open there, had a little bit of a pocket in the zone there. He just had to kind of twist his body around to try and track that, but you could see he breaks off the corner there, and there is a little bit of a hole there in the zone.
That was going to be a really tough catch. Even if he gets to that ball, he was going to have to keep his feet anchored in the field of play and reach out of bounds. It wouldn't be easy, but you said it, Dave. The opening was there, and sometimes you put a little bit of extra air on that ball just to make sure that the underneath defender doesn't have a play, and you get those overthrows like we saw in that last one.
Hard to tell on your screen, but it is raining a little bit now, kind of a strong misty rain coming down, so we'll see how that affects the ball traveling out of McCray's hands. If it hasn't already. 3rd down and 10. McCray once again is going to scamper towards his right. Will he opt to tuck it down? He will. Gets past the line of scrimmage, makes a man miss, and still flirting with the first down marker. It's going to be very close. Now we have a flag away from the play. In a land, Joe, where there were 4 gray jerseys only, that flag was popped out.
There's a lot to unpack on this play. Let's take a second look at it. Obviously, a tremendous run by McCray here. Once again, they try and move the pocket to the right. This time, New York's Boldest ready. However, they could not take down the Crusaders quarterback. And there's our flag right there, Dave, just inside the 30-yard line. It was a late hit on what appeared to be sort of a blindside block. I wouldn't call it a block considering it was by the defense, but a push from behind by one of the defensive players against one of the Crusaders' offensive linemen. So I believe that was number 21, George Lutz, who came in from behind at the end of that play and took one of the Crusaders down to the turf.
Yeah, it was Jaden Tolan who got taken down. So we'll see what the official call is. Personal foul against corrections, and that will add 15 yards or probably, Joe, half the distance to that run by McCray. So the flag kind of obscures what was a great play by McCray, too. I thought he was going to be dead to rights near the sideline, as in the area was Dustin Griffin, number 47. Just couldn't shove him out at about the line of scrimmage, and McCray was able to scamper, had the first down on the run, and then half the distance penalty will set them up inside the 10. So here we go, 1st and goal, Crusaders, and looks like we're going to have a timeout here called by corrections. Indeed, it's called by the Boldest.
Well, that's a costly penalty, and here's one more look at it. We saw it again before we anticipated this snap coming up, but with the stoppage of play here at 5:41, there's one more look at that, and here's a look at the run. That deserves a second look as well. It was a tremendous play by McCray, and he has his team set up in scoring position after Department of Corrections went right down the field on their opening drive, and to rebound in this way, you have to like that if you're the Crusaders. I mentioned resilience before. It tells you a lot about a team. It's easy to be resilient in game 1 of the season. If you can do that over the course of a full 8-game season and then some, that's the kind of team that wins championships.
Yeah, absolutely. And the Crusaders should feel really good about what they're doing on this drive. And let's not forget, it was that personal foul penalty on the sideline on what could have been a 3-and-out situation for the Crusaders that kept this drive alive. And then, of course, the 46-yard pass and catch. McCray to Jefferson, and now they've been steadily marching down the field. So a couple of self-inflicted errors for the Boldest on this drive, but give the Crusaders credit. Mixing things up, run and pass here, and now they have a golden opportunity to tie this game up under 6 minutes to go in the first.
And I think they found a way to try and neutralize this Boldest pass rush just a bit with the moving pocket. Obviously, you can send your defensive line in that direction ahead of a play, but then that opens up other opportunities to perhaps run the ball away from what would be the moving pocket. Obviously, with McCray being a right-handed thrower, he's going to look to move to his right on passing plays when he rolls out. That's something you can use to your advantage as a play caller on the offensive side.
So now a lot in the playbook here. The ball spotted at about the 7 or 8 yard line. McCray will continue to work out of the shotgun. In the backfield with him is Luke Giscombe. They'll send motion. That was Wells. Wells is going to receive the handoff, working in towards the pylon and gets pushed out short of the goal line, but still a nice little play there and end around.
And they appear to be awfully close to that goal line, maybe 2 or 3 yards away. We'll get one more look at it right here on replay as you get a look at some more pre-snap motion as well. That's something that we've seen both of the teams utilize in this game.
Yep.
And they did pick up the edge due in large part to that pre-snap movement.
Yeah, and that was Wells indeed on the run. 2nd and goal from the 3. McCray steps to his right now, goes left, looking for a divot in the defense and walks in. After sidestepping one, there is a flag down in the backfield, so hold everything. Looks like the Boldest are signaling in the Crusaders' direction, and as you said, Joe, when it's in the backfield, that's usually the case. We'll see what the White Hat says.
We'll get a look on replay here, see if we can pick anything up as they relay this call. Didn't see much there. We'll slow it down and get one more look at it.
Oh, it's against the defense.
Offsetting
it's offsetting.
penalties.
Okay, so no play, and they'll reset the down here. 2nd down and goal. It will remain at the 3-yard line as you get another chance to look at it on your screen.
Looking for the hold. I'm not sure it occurred in
Maybe
screen.
right there on 58, Joe. You can back up just a little bit, but yeah, looked like on number 58 of the Crusaders have called their 2nd timeout here too, Joe, so we'll get another stoppage here. Important drive for sure here. Still 5:08 to go in this first quarter. The Crusaders on their 2nd drive. You got to see the replay on your screen, and offsetting penalties would keep the ball at the 3-yard line. Otherwise, the Crusaders would have been backed up 10 yards.
Looking ahead to this upcoming 2nd and goal play, the Crusaders have obviously displayed a preference toward running the ball on the goal line, and generally, I agree with that approach. I think your first attempts down around the goal line probably should be running plays, but given what we've seen from the passing game in this drive and McCray's ability to move the pocket and move outside of the pocket, I think they stick with what they've been doing, trying to get the defense moving or looking in the wrong direction with some pre-snap motion and use that deception to try and turn this possession into 6.
Perhaps with the play clock winding down, the Crusaders sprint to the ball here at the line of scrimmage. McCray, only one in the backfield now. You think he might be on the move. He has to double back to his right. He's looking for something or some type of option. McCray still dancing and weaving, throws it into the end zone, and that was low.
And I think he had a man open in the end zone there, Dave. It looked like Malik Sanders had room.
Yes, indeed. Actually, though, the receiver on that in the back of the end zone was Devin Stevens, number 17.
I think he had Sanders underneath coming from the middle of the field.
I saw someone at the pylon kind of coming in as well.
The receiver out near the pylon ran out of bounds, so he wasn't an option.
Yep.
He had Sanders wide open.
Yep. Right, yeah, he was the underneath man, and then
underneath coming from the middle of the field.
And then Stevens was kind of parked in the back of the end zone, so it was too short for him. So it'll be 3rd down and 3 now, and now we have another stoppage, and we'll see what this will be about. Unless they just wanted the clock stopped after that play. We resume here, 3rd down and 3. McCray has been able to manufacture some time. We'll see what they draw up here. The Boldest hold at the line of scrimmage. They don't send more bodies in. McCray dancing, looking to gain, but not much there. Good job by the Boldest to stay home and clamp down. Right at the line of scrimmage, no gain. It'll be 4th and goal.
Well, the longer a quarterback is able to stay alive on a play like that, the more and more likely that a score seems to be, but not here. Good discipline defensively by Department of Corrections here. They forced McCray to step up in the pocket, and that's key. He's been looking to roll out and create some extra time, perhaps looking to pass. They did not give him that option on that play. He was forced to carry it between the tackles, and that allowed the big guys up front to close in and make a big tackle, setting up a 4th and goal.
George Lutz and Jerome Stewart on the stop for the Boldest. Good job, like Joe said, just staying home, just walking that line of scrimmage back and forth east and west and not allowing McCray the real estate he needed. And now they'll go with 2 running backs in the backfield. Now we have a flag down near the back of the end zone and a delay of game.
And that's inexcusable, Dave. Obviously, we talk about it all the time. You can't afford to commit penalties that shoot yourself in the foot. You can't have self-inflicted wounds throughout a game. And the Crusaders here commit what is a really costly penalty because I think it takes the run off the table completely. And sometimes if you're looking to pass, it's better to be further out. That does not apply in this case. It is not easier to score from here.
It's just Combe and Skinner in the backfield, probably to protect, and that's indeed what they do. They look in the corner. It was bobbled and intercepted in the end zone. That'll be a touchback, as coming down with it was Donnell Lazar. And the Boldest get off the field without having to yield the score. They'll take over as the Crusaders are unable to score 1st and goal.
That looked like a one-read pattern there. I think they had 2 receivers running a route on the play as well. We didn't get a good look at the right side of the field, but I think that was a 2-man route concept, and it was effectively an out route to the corner of the end zone.
Well, I was going to say, Joe, if that ball is thrown to the corner of the end zone by the back pylon, maybe there's a chance, but this is well underthrown by McCray. You could just see it's really not where it's supposed to be because, again, even if Stevens is able to double back and get to that ball, he's got to go through Lazar to make the play. In any event, the Boldest take over at their own 20-yard line. 3:15 to go in the first quarter. And now a throw at the line of scrimmage. That one hit the turf, and that'll be incomplete. Forward pass. Whistles the play dead. As Adels threw one in short on the ground. Looked like the intended receiver, I think, was number 13, Jamal Uri.
Although the Crusaders didn't score on that drive, there were some things that were very positive on that drive. Something else that has nothing to do with the offensive performance, you did give your defense a breather. The defense came out perhaps a bit earlier than they expected with the Crusaders receiving the opening kickoff. Department of Corrections went straight down the field. It looked like the Crusaders might be off the field quickly on offense, but they gave that defense some rest. That's going to prove valuable here on this drive.
Adels once again, Threadgill in the backfield with him. The fake to him underneath. It's going to be Adels taking off on his own. He gains the line of scrimmage, looking to cut left and goes out of bounds at about the 25-yard line. So he gets half of what he needs for a 1st down. Clock will continue to run.
We've seen both quarterbacks demonstrate the ability to carry the football in this game. And not only are they able to carry the football, both sides calling plays for them to keep the football and try and pick up yardage with their legs.
Yep, and we haven't really seen Adels look down the field as opposed to, across here in the flat for a couple of passes. We've yet to see the Boldest downfield passing game. And that's because the run game was working so well in that first drive. They've yet to run it here. And now on 3rd and 5, it'll be Adels alone. He looks in the flat. The pass is complete to Threadgill, but a great open field tackle made by Malik Sanders on the defensive side of the ball. He makes the play, and potentially it'll force a Corrections punt.
That's a huge tackle on that play, and you'll get one more look at it right here. Once again, Department of Corrections looking to get that ball out quickly. Now, Dave, go back to drive number 1. They ran a very similar look to that, and they sent Threadgill out of the backfield. They did not throw him the ball on that particular play. They did throw it to him there. The Crusaders were not fooled and were able to blow that play up.
And it will be Fusco back deep to punt here. Good job by the Crusaders, barring any kind of penalty on this play, holding the Boldest to a 3-and-out following the interception. As we are in the waning moments of the first quarter, and we do have a whistle here to stop play, and looks like a substitution penalty or too many men on corrections. Yeah, it looked like they had too many men.
But you can't do that. Speaking of self-inflicted wounds, as we mentioned before. But the Crusaders will certainly take it, and after a promising first drive for them offensively, they will get the ball back. And if they can avoid playing in 3rd and long, 4th and long, they should be able to do some good things offensively.
High snap. Fusco brings it down, gets off a pretty good punt. End over end. It is fielded clean by the Crusaders, and now having to double back is Michael Lewis. Lewis manages to get away from trouble, gains the 50, and perhaps is just over the midfield stripe, and Lewis turned something into nothing into something again, Joe.
Yeah, I don't know how he managed to end up past where he received that kick, and we'll get a look at how he did it here on the replay. We'll speed it up a bit to where he receives the ball because a lot happened after that. And you can see he receives this punt at about the 48. He got back to maybe the 50, and I don't know how he managed it. That's a series of great moves to get there. Whether or not the Crusaders bench loved him circling back, not so sure, but that's a net gain of 2 yards, and it was 2 hard-earned yards, but the Crusaders will take it, and they start their second drive from midfield.
Yep, I was going to say he went negative 13 to go plus 2, so I guess the net works out okay, but in any event, especially due to that penalty right there at the end, there is 1 minute exactly remaining in this first quarter. So the Crusaders, for all intents and purposes, should have the ball in their hands when this quarter comes to an end. They're down by 6, but right at midfield, half the field to go, and we have penalties as barreling through the defensive line was Darryl Paulk. We'll see if they get him for an encroachment penalty here, or was he drawn off? They'll discuss.
Let's see if we can shed some light on the situation quickly. Slow motion replay, a friend of the broadcast always.
Yeah.
Here's a look.
It was whistled against the Crusaders. We'll see if there's a case for it. Looked like a hand gesture there. Maybe the up back.
We're going to bring it back. We're going to bring it back.
We'll take a look at number 10.
A defender moves.
Well, look at number 10 gets his motion started too early, Joe.
Well, the defense moved, but the defense did not move into a position where they had crossed the line of scrimmage. The offense then moved in response. However, the ball had not been snapped.
1st and 15. So the Crusaders backed up now on their own end of the field. They get motion. There is a flag down. Middle of the field and wide open. Making the catch was Hubbard. Hubbard dancing between a couple of defenders inside the 35. But he too, Joe, I don't know if he came set at the line. And I think this is going to be a procedural call against the Crusaders. And indeed it is. It's a motion foul because Hubbard never came set at the line, Joe. You'll see it. He's the man in motion, and he never gets set. It's like arena football almost.
Yeah, he certainly did not. Good call, Dave.
And so it wiped out about a 20-yard gain on the play. And instead, the Crusaders are going to have a 1st and 20.
Well, the Crusaders now moving very much in the wrong direction as we have 44 seconds to go in this first quarter. But we've seen at times both teams hurt themselves with penalties. The Crusaders a bit more. And when you add a turnover to that, you find yourselves down 6 points and with a 1st and 20.
For all intents and purposes, that was a really well-designed play, and it did leave Hubbard open in that soft zone of the defense in that secondary. See if they could draw something up here. 1st and 20. McCray once again will run over to his right. He's looking. Once again, drops one into Jefferson, and he dances on the sideline and is inside the 35 to the 34-yard line. Another big chunk play, 26 yards. And the Crusaders make a 1st and 20 look easy, converting the first down.
And it looks like this Department of Corrections defense is really having a problem with the Crusaders offensively when they move the pocket.
That's the end of the first quarter, Joe, and you have to think as they come back to their respective sidelines and reverse the field, the New York Boldest here, Corrections, they need to kind of Sharpie number 11 of the Crusaders and know where he is at all times on the field. A couple of hats to him, because this is way too much space for Joshua Jefferson to be operating in, Joe, between the zones.
They're losing him, I think, in large part because they have their eyes on the quarterback. And you take a look at the coverage there. We're going to back it up. And you see two players get caught up near the line of scrimmage. I'm going to slow it down, move it forward a little bit, and we'll highlight that. But if you look when McCray rolls to his right, you're going to see a couple of players get caught right around the 45-yard line. They're looking at the quarterback, and not really looking at what's going on down the field. So you have two players there that I would presume are both in zone coverage, one of them responsible for that flat area of the field, and another who's supposed to back up a bit and make sure that a player like Jefferson can't run in behind the opening and get wide open along the sideline. I think when you have a quarterback that can move, you see those kinds of blown coverages a bit more often. We've seen that obviously McCray fits that description. He can make things happen with his legs and has done so throughout the first quarter of this game. Not to mention what he's done with his arm as well.
Yeah, 100% when you have a running quarterback who can do dynamic things. It leads to your wide receivers having a little bit more open space down the field. Of course, it could open up the run game again. Because if you remember, Joe, the Crusaders started this game, their first 2, 3, 4 plays were all runs kind of right up the A-gap, and the Boldest were there to kind of shut things down. And ever since then, they've kind of been pass-heavy here with McCray having to, make his own space.
Well, we just got to look at their first passing play, a huge gain from back in the first quarter.
Right. They have been funneling the running backs in and out as well and getting different looks in their backfield. Now they'll go in the flat, far side of the field, and held up at the line of scrimmage, now having to reverse again. I think that was Lewis again on the far side. All that probably to get back to the line of scrimmage, and now late flags come in on the far sideline. Very late, and this might go against the Boldest here. I see a lot of players on the Crusaders end clapping their hands and celebrating here that penalty that was called late.
We'll get a look at it here on the replay. Once again, Lewis dancing and able to get back to the line of scrimmage to his credit, because there was no gain to be found there. And looking in that pile after the play was over, I do not see much. And that's on the Crusaders.
Oh, it is, huh? So it had to be something
taunting
verbal.
from the bench.
Yeah. And they're discussing it now, Joe, but when players started to get separated, I saw a bunch of the Crusaders players and coaching staff kind of clapping their hands, motioning in the direction of the Boldest. But we're going to get an official look here from our head official, and it is against the Crusaders, and they're going to back things up.
Yeah, here it is, Dave, in case you missed it.
Okay.
Our audience at home will see it at about the 32. It was right here.
Yeah, hands
the
waving,
official looking right at the offending player and tosses the flag up. That is an unacceptable penalty there.
Yeah, good look right there. And again, it happened after the play, so the result of the play would stand, and then you add 15 yards. So the Crusaders are looking at a 2nd down and 25 coming up here, as Lewis was unable to get back, or was able just to get back to the line of scrimmage.
Well, we've seen some prolific plays in the passing game from the Crusaders already in this one. They're going to need another one right here with 2nd and 25. You could try and pick up some of that yardage on 2nd down and on 3rd down, assuming they don't punt on 4th. In a 4th and long, I think they would. But talk about a drive killer. We had a fumble for the Crusaders on the opening drive. That drive never got started. And then this drive now with a 2nd and 25 in jeopardy.
Self-inflicted wounds. We'll see if the Crusaders can lift themselves up off of another one. Lot of time for McCray putting it into open space, and it's broken up actually by the Crusaders on what could have been Lazar's 2nd interception of the game.
That's a big mismatch in the secondary. You have Lazar, who, as you can see on the replay here, possesses a distinct size advantage covering down the field. Now, you would presume that might come with an agility and speed advantage for the receiver, because A man that big should not be that far down the field covering that closely. That is a matchup that, just looking at it and eyeballing it, you might expect the offense to have an advantage. And, you know, I would guess that for Department of Corrections, a lot of their players are on the bigger side generally, given the profession, but Lazar looks to be towering over most of them, and he's playing in the secondary.
And I think on that play, probably the good pass protection came to the detriment of the Crusaders because McCray just got that one off just way too late, and by then it was just a jump ball. The intended receiver was Tyshawn Hubbard on the play, number 4. Now they'll go with 3 wide receivers on the far side of the field. 3rd down and 25. McCray looking in that direction again, hesitates. Now the defense bearing down on him. That was tipped at the line of scrimmage. Hubbard, the only one in the general area, 4th down and long. And unless the Crusaders are looking to roll the dice pretty heavily here, we're probably going to see a punt.
And this is effectively a prevent defense look from Department of Corrections. They have 3 players standing down the field waiting about 25 yards beyond the line of scrimmage. So you know their objective defensively, it goes without saying, is don't get beat over the top.
Right.
And that does open up the possibility underneath to pick up a chunk of that 25 yards and maybe go for it, or perhaps pick up a big gain on a run after the catch. That being said, they didn't complete the pass. So it is 4th down. And when you're in a situation like that and you see the defense in that kind of alignment pre-snap, I think you go to something where you try and complete a short pass and then pick up a chunk.
There's all sorts of confusion here, Joe, with the punt team. But the Crusaders are getting set. Back deep is Travis Briggins for the Boldest, but now we're going to have a timeout. And the final one taken by the Crusaders. They just looked all out of sorts there personnel-wise, Joe.
Yeah, and with 13:59 left in the second quarter, taking your final timeout is something that can really come back to burn you later in the half if you need it. I think we've seen some good things from the Crusaders defensively, picked up a stop on the last drive, and for Department of Corrections, their first offensive drive, they looked very strong. So we've seen good things from both sides. Really tough to tell which side is going to gain the distinct advantage. But right now, with that early fumble, it is Department of Corrections with a 6-point lead, and they're poised to get the football back with a chance to make it a 2-score game.
And unofficially, we have 13:59 to go, so we're still in the infant stages of this second quarter. But you said it, Joe. To me, it screams of a game that's the first game for both teams. They're just trying different things, looking at different looks offensively. You know, good mix of run and pass, and trying to find their identities is really the way I would describe it. But pretty typical of what you'd see in a first game, with both teams kind of testing the waters here. But the big difference is that the Crusaders have taken, you know, too many penalties, I know, to their liking, and it has stalled at least this drive after a big play to then have to go back and start 2nd and 25. It's a tough bill of sale. Short punt. It bounces at the 35, and watching it go out of bounds harmlessly was Wayne Harris, one of the up men for the Corrections. So they'll have the ball in pretty good field position at the 29 following a 21-yard punt.
Yeah, given the fact that this drive started at midfield for the Crusaders, you hate to give the ball back with this kind of field position. Ideally, if you don't score, you'd like to pick up something and give your special teams unit an opportunity to pin back the opposing offense, and that is not the case here. So Department of Corrections takes over just inside of their own 30-yard line, already playing with the lead, and all of a sudden now, if you're the Crusaders, who, keep in mind, did receive the opening kickoff, you have to keep an eye on that clock and make sure that you don't go into the half down 2 scores if you can avoid it.
So Adels, who's been working out of the shotgun the entirety of this one, continues to do so. Threadgill to his right. It will be given. That's actually a new running back in the game, and a good hard yards picked up by Ricky Aston. His first carry gets about 6 yards on the play. And looks like the Boldest are going to want to go quickly here, Joe. They get right up to the line of scrimmage. No huddling here, looking to take advantage. Crusaders team that, once again, remember, they're out of timeouts as well. The give is underneath on the delayed handoff, and Aston this time is bottled up in the backfield. So lost almost as many yards as he gained on first down. It'll be 3rd and long coming up.
Yeah, 3rd down and about 9 here, maybe 3rd and 10. But I said it on the first drive. It looked like Department of Corrections was looking to play a bit quickly without going no huddle. You could see their huddles were very short. They got back to the line quickly. They do it again here. It does not pay off as this play was blown up in the backfield by the Crusaders. You could give one of 3 players a tackle on that play, and big play here defensively for New York.
Yeah, and the Crusaders were coming there. They were bringing in 2 extra bodies on the blitz, so they were rushing in 6. Let's see what they do on this play. They go towards the flat, but that one a little bit too extended, and looked like Kazmel Manat did not expect that to get thrown at him. And kind of a weird play there, Joe. It didn't look like anyone was really ready for the snap there. I don't know if the Boldest got the snap count wrong there. It just looked like nobody really.
I don't think that's legal, what the quarterback did either with the hand movement.
Well, if you notice, if you watch it one more time, Joe, watch the center. He centers it, or he snaps it back, and then he kind of just stands up. And there's really nothing happening at the line of scrimmage. It was kind of a weird play. I just don't think the offensive line was ready, or even if Adels was ready. There's the snap.
I'm fairly certain you can't do that either.
They're still in their set.
Yeah.
When that ball is snapped. Well, Fusco will have to deliver it as that drive yields just 1 yard from scrimmage. Fusco, a line drive kick, but a good one, and it takes a Boldest bounce, but good job of tracking it. And once again, going backwards is Lewis before he steps up and reaches the 50, makes one man miss, and is stopped finally at the Boldest 45-yard line, maybe just over it. And I'll tell you what, Michael Lewis is as cool as a cucumber back there, dancing and weaving. I thought he was going to get himself in trouble again. And somehow, some way, number one, he didn't field it clean, and he got about a 16-yard return out of it.
Well, here's another look at it, Dave. And I said before, maybe the bench didn't want him circling back and putting the yardage in jeopardy. I think that's exactly what they want him doing, because he's making a living right now, making defenders miss. And if circling back is what he needs to do to make that happen, I think New York is going to be okay with it over on that sideline. We've seen him now take what would have been a loss and turn it into a play that went for no gain. He took that good bounce, I would say, for the Crusaders. It bounced right into his hands and turned it into a nice return. And once again now, the Crusaders with good starting field position. The last drive began at midfield. This drive starts at the Department of Corrections 45.
Yeah, officially it's the first time they've started in this end of the field, but last time they started right at the 50 as well. And we have movement again, this time on the left side of the line. We'll see who gets caught flinching first. It's going to be a false start against the Crusaders. And it's been a recurring theme here, Joe, on 1st and 10. The Crusaders are going backwards.
It's been a messy half for the Crusaders in terms of penalties. We've seen a lot of unforced errors for them in this game, and you take those away, this game might be scoreless. They could be in front, because you have to remember as well, when they had 4th and goal, they committed a penalty that turned it into a 4th and goal from the 7 rather than the 2. And that was a really, really big penalty, given the way they'd called plays and given the way that McCray had been able to move the ball with his feet and complete passes on the move. Everything on the table from the 2, not so much from the 7. It's now 1st and 15 on this drive.
Yep, so on their last drive, the Crusaders had 26 yards of offense, but they had 25 yards of penalties. So it ended up a wash. Here they are, -5 in the hole. They start at the 50-yard line, 1st and 15. McCray has some time, dips up into the pocket, gains the line of scrimmage, and ducks under a tackle at the 42-yard line. And we have a flag, and it's a holding against the Crusaders.
I was about to say, Dave, that is the best pocket McCray has had in this game. We'll get another look at it and see if we can spot the hold, but the flag did come in late. This was a hold that came toward the end of this play. So the initial pass protection that he got, which was solid, did not involve a hold. You'll see the flag come in rather late, but this protection is phenomenal against the 4-man rush, and you could see the guilty party with the hands up. That's usually a pretty good indication
Wasn't me.
of where the penalty occurred.
So just like their last drive, they'll have to start deep in the hole. They had a 1st and 20 on their last drive and then a 2nd and 25 at one point. Now it's 1st and 25.
They really have to clean it up,
Yeah.
Dave. This could be a completely different game were it not for these penalties. Now, obviously a hold, not the same as a pre-snap penalty, but it hurts just the same, perhaps more.
Yeah, and we're getting to that point where the Crusaders are starting to, amass just as many penalty yards as offensive yards here in this one. But 1st and 25. McCray has some time again and wants to look for the home run, putting it up in traffic, and coming down with it was Wilson. Wilson making some moves. The 2nd official turnover of the game, actually the 3rd official turnover of the game for the Crusaders. Multiple flag comes down on the return, so there might have been a block in the back as Jermaine Wilson was bringing it back to about the 45-yard line. But again, Joe, that was a jump ball on a play where McCray is looking for the home run, but
they're not going to let him complete one of those again. And I think you can use that to your advantage. You take a look down the field, and pre-snap, at times we've seen 3 or 4 corrections department defenders planted 20 yards or more beyond the line of scrimmage. And in that situation, they're standing there waiting for the receiver to meet them down the field rather than trying to chase the receiver downfield. And that makes that play much easier, especially when you have a size advantage down there. And you were right, Dave. It is a penalty against corrections department here that backs them up. And what would have been very good starting field position becomes just good at around the 25. But they could have been out near the 40 were it not for that flag.
Well, if you missed our pregame, we talked about the intangibles, the penalties and the turnovers. Well, the penalties have gotten out of hand for the Crusaders, and that was their 3rd turnover of the game's first 20 minutes. As we have 9:55 to go. Another pass in the flat, elevated, making the catch was Wesley. He gets stood up at about the line of scrimmage, but pulls forward for a gain of about 3 or 4. Good job by Darren Wesley to weave through some traffic.
And we've seen a lot of this short passing game get the ball out of Addles' hands quickly. I can't recall a play where Addles has looked to pass and kept the ball in hand for more than 2 or 3 seconds. And he's able to get rid of it within a second on that particular play. And obviously, if you're able to hold the ball for 3 seconds as a quarterback, that's a joy. But they have not looked to keep the ball in his hands very long unless he's been the ball carrier.
Officially a gain of 5 on first down. It'll be 2nd down and 5 as we approach the 9-minute mark remaining here in the second. The give is underneath to Robert Gay. Gay pulls up about another couple of yards. Hard yards there. Good job by the Crusaders at the line of scrimmage. Getting down low was DeJuan Skinner to make the stop. It'll be 3rd down and 3 coming up.
Is it 4-down territory, Dave?
I don't think so. I think with the 6-point lead and the way your defense has played, especially against a run, I think that you're starting to figure things out in the passing defensive game. But, the Crusaders have been able to get these small chunk yardage, 3 and 5 yard clips. Let's see if they can convert here. In motion, and now they go the opposite way. There's that play again, and it is again Darren Wesley, and Wesley slides away from 1, and a touchdown-saving tackle made by Patrick O'Hara. Otherwise, that would have resulted in 6. Now, we do have whistles right near the line of scrimmage. Now, is that a flag all the way down, Joe, on near the Crusaders sideline?
Illegal
yes,
motion.
It is. And, Joe, I didn't want to say it at the time, but it looked like Robert Gay, he too started to motion out wide and never came set. Let's take a look if that was the case. That was that play again, Joe, where they moved the running back, or they motion the running back one way and go the opposite way to Wesley. Let's see if we can catch the motion, and if he comes to a stop. He does not.
Well, as the running back behind the line of scrimmage, I think you're okay. So I don't think that was the issue. They might have had 2 men in motion at once.
Got you. Maybe we'll
Let's
see
wind
it
it
one
back
more
one
time
more time,
while they're
yeah.
getting back. Yeah, because maybe he didn't pull forward into his motion.
As the running back, you're okay with being in motion prior to the snap?
No, I didn't see it.
Yeah.
He was the only one in motion at
Not
least.
sure.
And the flag was thrown right in front of the Crusaders bench. So it was by the side judge in front of the Crusaders bench. Doesn't mean much now. It's a loss of 5, so it sets up a 3rd and 9 here. 3rd and a long 8.
Well, that one stings.
Yeah,
If you're a
no
corrections
doubt.
department, and now the Crusaders have a really good opportunity to get off the field defensively, they need to capitalize.
Eliminated about a 35-yard gain. Adels with some space, drops it off, and it was too far to the left of Yuri, who was hanging out in the low screen area. There was a Crusader right there to meet him, and it'll be 4th down, and once again, Fusco will come out to punt it away.
I thought they had the look, Dave. If he gets the ball out quickly, I think they had the look. The entire Crusaders defensive front in the backfield, and there was a defender there, but you have to give your back a chance in that situation. You have to give him a chance. It's one-on-one. If he makes that man miss, he might be gone.
And I agree. I think it needs to come out a little bit quicker. Once those 3 defensive linemen are bearing down on you, that's when you got to get rid of the ball. Then it becomes too obvious you're running a screen. But good job by the Crusaders. They hold. They get the benefits of a flag on the drive as well that bailed them out a little bit. But for all intents and purposes, they're going to hold as we have a timeout whistled against the Boldest here. That'll be their first timeout taken. I thought they took one earlier too, Joe.
Well, there was a stoppage of play. I did not hear an announced timeout, but it is certainly possible that they took one.
For now, they have 2 left with 7:40 remaining in this first half. An eventful one. Good mix of run and pass. The Crusaders, if you joined us late, they've had the better of it on recent drives, moving the football, getting a couple of first downs pieced together. It's been the penalties and the 3 turnovers that have really stood out, and the corrections with the opening drive touchdown on a short field. It was about a 47-yard field when they took over, actually 42. But since that, they've kind of been grounded here, have the Boldest, and we'll punt it away, and we'll give the Crusaders another opportunity.
The Crusaders have definitely gotten the better of this matchup in the passing game. Many more dynamic plays in the air, and that turnover has been the difference so far.
And these punts have been a little bit of an adventure, too. Fusco gets off another good one. Look for Michael Lewis, who's been doing some dynamic things with the ball in his hand. He'll let this one go, however, and it turns out to be a great kick. And it's going to be downed inside the 20. So officially a 53-yard punt, no return, and downed by number 53, Christopher Hirsch.
Well, do not overlook special teams. This is a great punt and perhaps an even better bounce that Department of Corrections got on this play, and that ball just kept rolling and rolling and rolling all the way down inside the 20. Some extra help there.
And for the Crusaders, it'll be their worst starting field position of the game. Ball spotted at about the 17-yard line.
And this very well could be their last possession of the half.
7:06 to go officially. And, they haven't done a lot of running of the football if you discount Charles McCray taking off in the backfield on some keepers. They really haven't had any design runs since early in the first quarter. Now, remember, they did suffer that injury as well to their running back earlier. See if they try to get back to the basics here, Joe. In the backfield is Luke Giscombe again with McCray. And it will be McCray once again. Scans the field, steps up into the pocket, has the first down and a little bit more, and gets tackled from behind by Wayne Harris, but not before a good positive gain of about 18 on the play. And now the Crusaders have much better field position.
And, Dave, those plays early in the game with the moving pocket that allowed McCray to roll out, now setting up the opportunity for him to step up through a pocket and run between the tackles. When your defensive line has to try and contain the quarterback at the line of scrimmage, that rush cheats to the outside just a bit. You get some extra time in the pocket and the added ability to step up through that pocket with good pass blocking and pick up big chunks on the ground like that one.
And for the first time in a long time on first down for the Crusaders, no flags on that last play. They have the ball at the 39-yard line. Actually, I'm sorry, the 34-yard line. Officially, that was a gain of 17 on the play. McCray once again at a shotgun formation. A long look. Now in the flat, that one almost picked off. And if Lazar holds on to what could have been his second interception, it's a quick 6 the other way.
No question it is 6 the other way if he holds on. And this is what happens when the quarterback faces pressure, unable to find a running lane, knows he has to get rid of the football. That's where you make mistakes. And McCray made one right there, got away with it. And that could have been a completely game-shifting play with New York's Boldest already leading by 6. They could have doubled that lead right there.
And that was Jefferson, who was camped out there in front of his own sideline, probably as that safety valve for McCray in the event he gets in trouble. McCray just picked him up a little bit late. And we'll see what they have to offer here on 2nd down and 10. McCray passing all the way, looking to his left, down the sideline, and that one too far to the left of Lewis, who was in the area. Looked like he had gained a step, Joe, on that break near about midfield, but that pass towards his left shoulder when he probably would have wanted it more in stride near the hash marks.
That was a touchdown, Dave. Throw just off the mark, as you mentioned, and definitely not an easy day to throw the football downfield. A bit wet, chilly, and at times the wind has been whipping, but it's relatively calm right now, and I don't think the weather impacted that throw. It was just a bit off target, missing by just enough to result in an incompletion and a big break for corrections department with that.
And a big play upcoming here on what will be 3rd down and 10. Clock reads 5:51 to go here in the first half. That could have been a big play. And the Crusaders almost living exclusively with the passing game now. A lot of confusion in the backfield here for the Crusaders. Remember, they do not have a timeout remaining. And now we see flags, and it will be a delay of game, Joe, on the Crusaders. So 3rd and 10 becomes 3rd and 15.
And that's a problem they're going to have to remedy. I think it's something you see quite often in the first week of a season. I'm not shocked that we've seen it. Obviously, when you get a first look at a team and it's their first game action, there are going to be some mistakes. You hope to see those cleaned up as the season goes along, but it's getting to the point where in this first half, it's been a bit excessive at times for the Crusaders, and I think even in a first outing of the season, you'd like to have played a cleaner half than this. That being said, Dave, if they do not fumble the football on that opening drive, they could be in a tie game right now, and we're going to keep coming back to that play until the Crusaders are able to get on the board and put that one in the rearview mirror. They've played pretty well since that point, but I think you can make the case they should be tied and in a scoreless tie at the moment.
They'll need another big play here on 3rd down to continue this drive. 3rd down and 15. We have a new quarterback in the game here, and they're going to look on the near sideline, and we might know it's broken up. Now we get the late flag.
That's the right call.
I believe you're right, Joe, on that one. Hubbard with Wilson coming in late. We'll get another look at that one as well. I thought that was maybe Anthony Williams at quarterback, Joe, number 14. I'll get him on this play, though. But
all right, there's a look at full speed. We're going to slow it down as well with the ball in flight. And so the defensive back is playing the ball. He does have eyes on the ball, but he contacts the receiver and first and foremost.
While you're watching it here, they are discussing. You may want to slow that down just a little bit more, Joe, but we'll see what results of this. They're going to pick up the flag, Joe. So no foul, indeed, will lead to 4th and 15. So that's a little bit of a punch to the Crusaders. And, yeah, I agree. That should have been a
That's a penalty. That's a penalty because you're obstructing the receiver's path back to the ball, and I think he got 2 hands on that one arm. If you're bracing with one hand and that's the hand that contacts the receiver, I think you let that go. But the fact that the defensive back came in and followed through with 2 hands down onto the receiver's arm, I think you leave that flag. I think it was initially the right call.
Yep, and again, without the benefits of replay down on the field, it just leads to a lot of second guessing. And you understand it. It's a big penalty called at a pretty big moment in the game in the first half. But to us here in the booth and getting a second and third chance to see it, that should have been a pass interference. In any event, the Crusaders will punt it away officially from their own 29-yard line. Tough snap, and it ends up being a short kick, but skips around and ends up at about the 37-yard line. It's Briggins. Briggins skirting to his left, and now he's got some daylight. Briggins with one man a beat, can't do it, but they set up inside the 10. And the Boldest are back in business. Flag is down, however.
There is a flag, Dave. I was about to say we'll see if this one stands, but we will get one more look at it as they sort out this penalty. And I was about to say, Dave, before that return even took place, it is miraculous that the Crusaders got this punt off. Look how close this was. Low snap and maybe even partially blocked. A nice slow roll into the arms of the return man as well. And from there, making the moves was Briggins. Didn't have to do too much. Scooped it up, worked his way to the sideline, and that straight line speed on full display as he was pushed out of bounds at the 5 now.
It's going to be spotted at the 35. They're going to re-kick here, Joe, because that flag, and we apologize because my eyes were on the replay. But, yeah, it was a pre-snap because that flag was dropped right at the line of scrimmage, and maybe that's why it was almost blocked. So a bit of a break again for the Crusaders. Now, give Briggins some credit. After he picked that one up, it was dancing on the carpet for a little bit. He made a really nice job of making 2 and 3 Crusaders miss. And we talk about Lewis on the one side, but Briggins has done a nice job, and Briggins is actually not the one back deep on this play. It'll be Wesley. So at the end of all of that, Joe, it'll be a 4th down and about 12, and they'll fix to punt again. But, yeah, it's not Briggins who's returning this one. I wonder if he got shaken up a little bit on that takedown at the 5-yard line. Instead, back deep, Darren Wesley, plenty of experience in this area as well. Keep your eye on this snap as the last one hardly got to the punter. It is Jefferson doing the punting. That's a much better one. He gets off and on a hop. Wesley does take it. He gets popped at the 35, but spins out of a tackle, making another man miss before he's swung down by Porter just outside the 45.
Well, at the end of that punt, where the return man grabbed the ball, the Crusaders looked as if they were going for the highlight reel big hit. We'll skip ahead here. And rather than complete the tackle, it looked like the Crusaders were just trying to put a big hit on. There, they just don't wrap up, and that affords corrections department probably an extra 10 to 15 yards.
And so, after all of this, obviously, the negation of that big return sets them up much deeper, but still in very good starting field position here at their own 46-yard line. We'll keep our eye on the time, too. There's 4:11 and counting remaining here in the first half. The Boldest, not since that first drive, I don't believe have a first down in this one, Joe. The fake underneath, and the pass is to Wilson, and Wilson is met this time in the backfield, and a good, solid tackle by Porter again leads to a loss of about 2 on the play.
We've seen some really good things from the Crusaders defensively at the line of scrimmage in this game. We mentioned how Department of Corrections early in the game was doing some really good things around the line of scrimmage, making life difficult on McCray and the Crusaders offense. But on the other side, this New York defense has really hit their stride since that opening drive. They were knocked back on their heels, have been a lot better and responded well since.
Threadgill is back in the game for the Boldest in the backfield. Sets up to the left of Adels, who wants to throw. Once again in the flat, almost broken up there. A nice job of coming down with it was Cameron Palmer, and he surges ahead for a gain of about 2 or 3. That was a very eventful 3-yard gain.
And a bit of a dangerous throw there. The Crusaders bench, I think, knew what was coming on this one, and we've seen a lot of very similar looks to this from the Boldest, and oh, boy, yeah, that is really close.
And, Joe, you wonder if all of this living at the line of scrimmage that the Boldest are doing is, setting up for Adels to really launch one downfield at some point. It's been, it's been throwing the flat right, throwing the flat left, and, of course, the run game up the middle. But other than that, Adels really hasn't used the middle of the field. And we saw them try a middle of the field screen, but you wonder if they're going to look at some point down the field. Could this be the play? Adels, there's a flag down, and the pass is in the middle, and upended and helicopter to the ground was Augustus. He gets up okay, and that's good to see, but there was a flag in the backfield, and this one could get backed up, and it will.
Well, you know what I say about those flags in the backfield, Dave? Bad news, and it was indeed bad news for the Boldest here as we get one more look, see if we could spot the hold, and there it is. Yep. Yeah, no question.
Yeah, it was Anthony Williams getting held. So that's a good call there, and it will make it a 3rd and 18, and will wipe out about a 15-yard gain on the play by Augustus, who, by the way, has the only score of this game. As we are approaching the 2-minute warning here at some point now, the Corrections and the Crusaders are going back to their huddle, so it makes you wonder here, Joe, this could be the 2-minute stoppage.
So with the 2-minute warning coming up here, we'll get our manually operated clock on the screen, try and keep that properly synced for the last 2 minutes.
Yeah, indeed, we got the call that it is the 2-minute warning.
Now, do they think we are the clock operators, Dave? Because it sure looks like they're looking at us every time. Every time. I've been mistaken for the PA announcer. I've been mistaken for the clock operator.
I guess it's easy. They see us with the headsets on, but we got a whole crew to our left here of the press box. Boldest staff here and staff at East Rockaway High School, home of the Rocks here. And beautiful facility here, and what's turning out to be a pretty nice day, too. I know I just jinxed it. When we got here, it was raining.
You should know better.
I know I should. But, yeah, it's pleasant enough. It still has that chill in the air. I'm sure they'd love it to be a little bit warmer, at least the fans would, but pretty good football weather here for these two teams. But 3rd and 18, a chance to continue the drive here for Corrections and a chance to get off the field here for the Crusaders defense. Let's see what gives here. They will run it underneath. Threadgill surges ahead for about a gain of 3. Good job at the line of scrimmage by Shatik Bennett. And it is not running. You're right. It should be. And it is now after a late start. But I think you're right, Joe, in keeping that thing going. And it will lead. Now, remember, the Crusaders cannot stop the clock. They're out of timeouts. They utilized 2 early in the first quarter and then took their 3rd early in the second. And so the Boldest can get this punt away here with about 1:10 minutes remaining on the clock. Although they need to get moving here at the line of scrimmage. And the very eventful Michael Lewis back deep for the Crusaders. Think back to that procedural call, Joe, on the Corrections on that 4th down that negated that big run back that would have set them up 1st and goal. That certainly paid a price. And we have a timeout whistled by Corrections. We saw that coming with, on our clock, 1:04 remaining.
I'm synced with the venue clock manually.
Right, that's what they have as well.
Yeah, and you mentioned it. We've seen some very costly penalties by both sides in this game, and I think the most costly play of the game is still that fumble on the very first play. I hardly even considered that an offensive possession for the Crusaders. I called their second possession their first possession at one point because that first drive never got started. And I'm not sure that any player ever possessed the ball with the exception of the quarterback. I think the handoff was completed. The exchange was completed, but it didn't really matter as that ball was coughed up very quickly and ended up in the hands of the Boldest.
And, Joe, what's interesting here is that there are officially 55 seconds left in this first half. And, it's only a matter of seconds. But you have the 2-minute warning. You run a play. Corrections calls a timeout. How does a minute and 5 seconds come off unless the play lasted for 25 seconds? That just doesn't make a lot of sense.
They've adjusted the clock
it's
as
55.
well.
Yeah, it's exactly 55. And that was, radioed up here to the crew to the left of us. But
so
in any event,
a 40-second play clock and a very long play, And
the clock runs now, and it's over the head of Fusco. This could be a big play. Fusco has the chance to kind of get rid of it. He does, straight out of bounds at the 22. So with 38 seconds remaining, the Crusaders are going to have a short field. And now, Joe, maybe those seconds are really important. Holy moly.
Well, they were important already, and you said it. With that miscue, they become that much more important. And I said it before as well. There was a bit of a high snap earlier in the game on a running play, and that extra time it takes certainly impacts you. On a punt, it can be catastrophic. We've seen it before, and we've said it time and time again. Do not overlook the importance of special teams. A special teams blunder right there by the Boldest, and now the Crusaders have a huge opportunity to get even before halftime, something that seemed very unlikely ahead of that punt.
And, Joe, I know it seems a little inconsequential, but Fusco actually kicked that from his own 10, but he did actually a decent job of getting that at least 10, 13 yards up the field when he could have been dead to rights, right in goal-to-goal territory. It is Williams in the game at quarterback. So the Crusaders on their second signal caller here. Thrown in the flat, and that one broken up. Good job with the left paw by Jonathan Sutherland.
Now, hold on a second, Dave. They have 16 seconds on the clock now.
Yeah, to me, the clock is wrong. It was continuing to run after that play was over. There's a flag down here, and it's against the defense. Joe, when that last punt ended, there were 38 seconds left on the clock. So there's no way 22 just ran off on that play. But it's kind of hard to determine because these officials, actually, they're putting 33. They signaled up here 33 seconds. I don't know if the guys in the booth next to us caught that, but there are 33 seconds remaining. And it's going to be 1st and 5 after the 5-yard penalty.
Well, there's been a great deal of confusion.
Yeah.
Now the clock reached 30.
I think they motioned up 33, but the 3 seconds, we'll see if they come into play. 5 wide receivers. Williams steps up. He loses the ball. Fumble was forced, and it was converged on by Darryl Polk, and corrections will take over with 23 seconds to go for the Crusaders, their 4th turnover of the first half, and that one hurts.
Yeah, it sure does, Dave. And I think when you look at this play, it doesn't give you a chance to get out of bounds. I'm not sure if there was an option for that ball to be thrown. There was a wide open receiver over the middle, but if that's not the play design, the quarterback is not making that read. And if you look in the middle of the screen, we'll go back and run it again.
Yeah.
You'll see a man come wide open across the middle.
But you almost wonder if that's on purpose, Joe, because the Crusaders can't stop the clock. So they needed something either in the end zone or on the sidelines.
Jeff Wells walks in. Is that 22 or 23? I think it was Kamai Taylor. I think that's a 23. Really tough to tell. We're going to speed this up a bit here and just get it.
In the meantime, we'll probably see one of the final plays of this half. The Crusaders are all sorts of out of sync defensively, but Adams just plows ahead, and that'll be the final play of the first half. As now players are taking their sweet time getting separated here, but cooler heads look like they're prevailing. But, Joe, I think you wanted to let us see something.
So, again, I think the play design is to get the quarterback running up the field and to the right, but if you're looking to throw, That's a walk-in touchdown across the middle of the field, no question.
Yeah, and that was Jeff Wells, Joe, and he's been
it was 22
in the flat a lot. But that'll do it. That'll be the first half of play. Very eventful, a lot of penalties, a lot of turnovers. The Crusaders turned the ball over 4 times and twice inside the red zone, unable to come away with points. And the score is the same as it was after the team's first drives of the game. The Boldest on that 5-yard touchdown pass from Adles to Augustus. They have the lead, Joe. And what do you make of this first half so far?
Well, I said it late in the half. I think that fumble that opened the game was the defining play of the first half, unfortunately, for the Crusaders. They did a lot of really good things, but when you look at the scoreboard, the play that had the big impact was coughing up the football on the very first snap. There were a lot of dynamic passing plays along the way for the Crusaders. They could not convert down around the goal line. Self-inflicted penalties, huge. New York's Boldest gave New York a chance there late in the half, and the Crusaders coughed the ball up again. Ball security making all the difference right now. If the Crusaders can clean that up, they can potentially get even and win this game. It could come down to a 2-point conversion. This New York defense, since that opening drive, has been very good. A lot to like for both sides, but the big fumble right now, the difference.
Certainly a lot to clean up, but a game that is within striking distance for both teams, and we should have a great second half coming up. What Joe and I will do is step aside, take a long extended break here at halftime. When we come back, we'll get you ready for half number 2 here live from East Rockaway High School in East Rockaway, New York. Your score at halftime is the Corrections Department 6 and the New York Crusaders nothing. Stay with us. You're watching Big East and New York Crusaders football on the PDF Sports Network.
Attention local businesses and professionals. Isn't it time to elevate your game? Now you can advertise your business or product on PDF Sports Network. Your ad will appear on all of our broadcasts, including this one. Don't have a commercial? We'll make one for you, absolutely free. What better way to showcase your product and brand while supporting the best local sports, teams, and leagues? Call now at 732-723-8189 or visit us at pdfsportsnet.com.
Multiple studies have shown that marijuana can slow both driver reaction and response time, which can be really dangerous. He's here. He's here. Wait. What? I can't drive. Why? My. Oh.
You know I'm right. The podcast that uncovers the origin stories of some of the biggest names in sports, media, and entertainment. Nick Durst here along with Joe Calabrese. We're coming to you from fabulous Las Vegas. And on our show, we always are trying to ask our guests how they got to where they are today in their careers. So, Joe, I want to ask you, how did we get to where we are today? What were your thoughts when I approached you to join the podcast?
So both Nick and I, we work in media, right? And February, March 2020, the pandemic happened. Everything was shutting down. The world was shutting down. What did we decide to do? We decided to be proactive. Nick approached me with this podcast, an idea, and I'll be honest, at first, I thought he was crazy. I didn't think it would work out. But here we are, 200 episodes later, about 150 episodes with guests, our friends, soon to be your friends. This is so much bigger than either of us could have ever imagined it being. And right now we're here in the beautiful Las Vegas. We're on a business trip. All we're doing is growing. You're gonna see us in more cities coming very, 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 very soon. And Nick, we always end the podcast like this, so now it is my turn to ask you, what is your you know I'm right moment? So what Nick means by that, he always asks the question. Now it's my turn to ask. What we mean by that is a time in your career where somebody said, you know what, Nick, I think you got to do this a certain way. And you were like, nah, I'm going to do it my way. Just like Frankie Sinatra And ultimately, you're going to see why it is that I'm right.
Well, it's pretty clear, Joe, that it's all about You Know I'm Right, the podcast. That's my You Know I'm Right moment. Wanted to do a podcast, and everyone was like, what are you, crazy? Who's going to listen? You're not going to get guests. Well, guess what? I'm the best when it comes to getting guests. You could vouch for that. Got incredible people on. We're growing here. And now we got our own merch. Tell everybody where they get the merch, Joe.
Go to our socials, YKIR Podcast on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. We're on everything. You get nice cotton shirts. You can get nice snapback hats. I am so happy that you asked me to do this. I couldn't have been more thrilled. And follow us on socials, check us out. I promise you, if you want to work in media, whether you work in media now, whether you want to quit your job and work in media, come to us, and I promise you, we will get you on the right foot.
That's what it's all about, uncovering the origin stories of some of the biggest names in sports, media, and entertainment. Keep it locked on You Know I'm Right.
When it comes to making plans, you are the best. The same way you plan each detail for those moments. Start planning to protect you and your loved ones from a natural disaster. Protecting your family is the best plan you can make.
The EFA is proud to be sponsored by KD's Black Magic Seal Coating. At KD's, we specialize in residential and commercial seal coating, crack filling, pothole repair, parking lot striping, and much more. Our licensed and insured team treats your project with great care and free estimates always. Contact Corey today at 631-562-8865 or email mrkd8985@gmail.com.
Great having you. Incredible women. I wish they had those kind of cool careers for women when we were growing up.
So in this flashback, we're all the same age?
Yeah.
What does everyone want to be when they grow up?
If I say 2 jobs, do I get extra credit?
No.
I want to make immersive video games. I want to revolutionize 3D printing. I want to analyze data from the cloud.
I want to be a meteor.
You mean meteorologist?
No.
That's great, Al. Follow your dreams.
For the record, I was a baby in the 70s.
Unbeatable Tires and Accessories LLC is your tire for all seasons. Visit us 7 days a week and call us now at 347-879-3100. A tire for all seasons at Unbeatable Tires and Accessories, official partner of the Elite Football Alliance.
Here you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You can't have football without barbecue, and there is no barbecue without the Rib Room's Black's Barbecue, official partner of the Elite Football Alliance, serving up rib plates, chicken plates, and combo plates now. To get your official Black's Barbecue order, call 347-837-5762 or Facebook direct message Sean Kelman. Attention local businesses and professionals. Isn't it time to elevate your game? Now you can advertise your business or product on PDF Sports Network. Your ad will appear on all of our broadcasts, including this one. Don't have a commercial? We'll make one for you, absolutely free. What better way to showcase your product and brand while supporting the best local sports, teams, and leagues? Call now at 732-723-8189 or visit us at pdfsportsnet.com.
We have a whole slate of original programming going on now at the PDF Sports Network, as you can see on your screen. Sunday mornings really depends on what time, usually 11 a.m. or 12 p.m. We have Way Too Early with Pat Bleasy, a.k.a. Coach Pat. Dave Patterson breaks down the world of local semi-pro football here. Majority of Big East coverage, NEAFL coverage, and ECFL coverage right now going on in the spring. Way Too Early with Pat Bleasy breaks it all down, a lot of information. Look for that every Sunday around 11 a.m. It goes live on the 3 Bleasies 2.0 Facebook page. Usually goes on at 8:30, 9 a.m. there, and then we carry the subsequent on-demand coverage of that show. On Wednesdays, you might have seen the commercial during the break. Nick Durst and Joe Calabrese host You Know I'm Right, one of the best sports and entertainment podcasts out there right now, the award-winning You Know I'm Right. We carry all of their sports content, a lot of big names. This past week, they had Woody Page on, legendary journalist. Great stories there. Every Wednesday night, we'll drop a new episode at 8 p.m. And then, Joe, Thursday and Friday nights are devoted to our friends at the American Arena League 2 and the Jersey Bearcats. Thursdays at 7 p.m., you got AAL2 Turf Talk, the Shady Sports Network producing that one for us. And then all about the Jersey Bearcats with the Bearcats Blitz on Fridays at 7 p.m. That leads us right into the opening of the season for the Jersey Bearcats, something that we're really looking forward to.
No question about it. The Bearcats, obviously a highlight of our schedule here on the PDF Sports Network, a team that was in the championship game each of the last 2 years. They won it 2 years back, and we were fortunate enough to get the opportunity to travel for that game out in Pennsylvania. You know, it was a very interesting trip. We arrived at the facility, weren't quite sure if everything would work. It was a bit staggered in terms of the internet connectivity on and off a bit, some lag, but we got through it. It was a great time. The Bearcats returning to PDF last year, back in the championship. Year 3 with the AAL2 and the Jersey Bearcats gets underway potentially as soon as next weekend.
Yeah, we are hoping to broadcast next week's all-New Jersey game between the Jersey Bearcats and the New Jersey Roughnecks. The Roughnecks, one of the new teams in the AAL2 this season. We're going to learn if we are going to broadcast that game or not during the week, so be sure to stay in touch with the PDF Sports Network. But one game, Joe, that we know for sure we're going to be covering is the debut home game for the Jersey Bearcats. That'll be on Saturday, April 26th. You can see it on your screen now. They will play host to the Maryland War Eagles. And, Joe, the Maryland War Eagles are a hybrid between two former Maryland teams, the Warriors and the Eagles. We covered both of those teams when they've played against the Bearcats. Those two teams merged to form the Maryland War Eagles, so it should be a good one at Warananko a couple of Saturdays from today.
Well, I was about to say that's quite the interesting team name. Sounds awfully familiar, and that is indeed why, as those two teams coming together to take on the Bearcats in their home opener on Saturday, April 26th. We're excited to be back at the Warananko Sports Arena. The big question mark always there is the internet connection. My grave enemy is poor internet connectivity, but we are prepared with our own hotspot and ready to go for week 1 in Warananko. Great time covering the Bearcats each and every year. And as we've said on the air covering their games, it's not only the on-the-field product, which, of course, has been of a championship caliber, championship berth last year, championship winning team 2 years ago, but they really do it right for their home games, a great atmosphere. Yeah. And you know me, I'm a big fan of the concession stand. They have raffles. They have, of course, the Bearcats dance team as well, Lady Bearcats. So plenty to be excited about come the start of the season at home in Warananko. We hope to get started with the Bearcats a bit sooner, but if it is the first home game, that is their season debut here on PDF, it will be on Saturday, April 26th.
Joe, it's official. When you give the concession stand a seal of approval, we know we're in a good spot.
That's right.
So Warananko is the place to be in a couple of weeks from now. We will be there once again, 5:30, pregame 5:45, and, of course, we'll get kickoff there for you at 6 p.m. Here in East Rockaway, we are still at halftime, 6-0. between the Boldest and the Crusaders. Joe, the Boldest, first drive of the game, short field off of a turnover. They go the length of the field. They score the touchdown. They're up 6-0. But then they've pretty much been silenced since then by a pretty stout Crusaders defense. The problem with the Crusaders, of course, we'll mention it time and again. We say it one more time, turnovers and penalties.
Yeah, and that needs to be corrected. Obviously, you'd like to see that happen in the second half of this game and to get back in this game and out of here with a win. Even if you can't do that in this situation, you can at the very least clean up some of the mistakes that you made in half number one. I think there is certainly the opportunity to win this game, and that's not something that should be lost here as this game draws closer to the second half. I think if you look at this game as a whole, outside of the first 3 to 5 minutes, the Crusaders have gotten the better of this game. They've had the big plays. They've connected on big plays, specifically in the passing game. They've improved their play defensively at the line of scrimmage versus what we saw in that opening drive. And really, the Boldest haven't done much offensively since that scoring drive. So the Crusaders have to be happy with much of that half looking outside of those first 5 minutes. However, to the credit of the Boldest, they have forced 4 turnovers. And right now, the big turnover early is the difference in the game. And keeping this game 6-0 was a turnover late in that first half as well. So if you're the Crusaders, you have to clean that up. It goes without saying. If you're New York's Boldest, one more score might be enough the way your defense has forced turnovers at such a high rate. We'll see if the Crusaders can finally break through on the offensive side or if it's this Boldest defense that reigns supreme on the day.
30 minutes separate these two teams from victory number 1 on the season, and both teams should feel they're within striking distance to get that done. So what Joe and I will do, step aside one last time, modified break. When we come back, we'll get you ready for second half kickoff right here live from East Rockaway. Your score at halftime, the Boldest 6, the Crusaders nothing. Stay with us. You're watching New York Crusaders football on the PDF Sports Network.
Attention, local businesses and professionals. Isn't it time to elevate your game? Now you can advertise your business or product on PDF Sports Network. Your ad will appear on all of our broadcasts, including this one. Don't have a commercial? We'll make one for you, absolutely free. What better way to showcase your product and brand while supporting the best local sports, teams, and leagues? Call now at 732-723-8189 or visit us at pdfsportsnet.com.
Multiple studies have shown that marijuana can slow both driver reaction and response time, which can be really dangerous. He's here. He's here. Wait. What? I can't drive. Why? My. Oh.
You know I'm right. The podcast that uncovers the origin stories of some of the biggest names in sports, media, and entertainment. Nick Durst here along with Joe Calabrese. We're coming to you from fabulous Las Vegas. And on our show, we always are trying to ask our guests how they got to where they are today in their careers. So Joe, I want to ask you, how did we get to where we are today? What were your thoughts when I approached you to join the podcast?
So both Nick and I, we work in media, right? And February, March 2020, the pandemic happened. Everything was shutting down. The world was shutting down. What did we decide to do? We decided to be proactive. Nick approached me with this podcast, an idea, and I'll be honest, at first, I thought he was crazy. I didn't think it would work out. But here we are, 200 episodes later, about 150 episodes with guests, our friends, soon to be your friends. This is so much bigger than either of us could have ever imagined it being. And right now we're here in the beautiful Las Vegas. We're on a business trip. All we're doing is growing. You're gonna see us in more cities coming very, 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 very soon. And Nick, we always end the podcast like this. So now it is my turn to ask you, what is your you know I'm right moment. So what Nick means by that, he always asks the question. Now it's my turn to ask. What we mean by that is a time in your career where somebody said, you know what, Nick, I think you got to do this a certain way. And you were like, nah, I'm going to do it my way. Just like Frankie Sinatra. And ultimately, you're going to see why it is that I'm right.
Well, it's pretty clear, Joe, that it's all about You Know I'm Right, the podcast. That's my You Know I'm Right moment. Wanted to do a podcast, and everyone was like, what are you, crazy? Who's going to listen? You're not going to get guests. Well, guess what? I'm the best when it comes to getting guests. If you could vouch for that. Got incredible people on. We're growing here. And now we got our own merch. Tell everybody where they get the merch, Joe.
Go to our socials, YKIR Podcast on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. We're on everything. You get nice cotton shirts. You can get nice snapback hats. I am so happy that you asked me to do this. I couldn't have been more thrilled. And follow us on socials. Check us out. I promise you, if you want to work in media, whether you work in media now, whether you want to quit your job and work in media, come to us, and I promise you, we will get you on the right foot.
That's what it's all about, uncovering the origin stories of some of the biggest names in sports, media, and entertainment. Keep it locked on You Know I'm Right.
Welcome back here to East Rockaway High School. We are just moments away from half number 2 here between the Department of Corrections, New York's Boldest, against the New York Crusaders, part of the Big East here for the second straight year. This game, of course, a game that counts for the Crusaders in the Big East standings, but of course the Boldest not a part of the Big East, so an affiliate member or an associate member, if you will, for this game and this game only. And, Joe, we forget that the Crusaders did get the ball first in this game, but a first play fumble gave the ball immediately back to Corrections. They end up scoring on the short field, and they'll get the ball first here in half number 2, and we'll see our first Crusaders kickoff of the season.
Well, impossible to forget the fumble since we've mentioned it so many times and the impact of that play on this game. But it is very easy to forget that the Crusaders did get the ball first and receive the opening kickoff. So you said it. We'll see them kick off for the first time right here. And we have seen some dynamic plays in the return game on the side of the Crusaders returning punts. We had a huge punt return called back on the side of New York's Boldest. So there have been some big plays in the return game. We had the high snap on a punt as well, a punt being attempted by Department of Corrections. So don't overlook special teams is the moral of the story. Yep. I hammer that point home every time we cover the semi-professional game, and very often teams don't carry kickers. That takes that out of the game, and it makes it easy to forget about the special teams component in a game like this. Don't overlook it. Plays that change games and define games sometimes can occur on special teams, and we've seen that to an extent in this game. Though right now, I think the play that has made all the difference was that fumble on the opening drive for the Crusaders.
It will be Hubbard to kick things off here for the Crusaders, and just like you mentioned before we went to the end of the first half, Joe, it could come down to an extra point. Remember the blocked extra point that the Crusaders had, as we have a procedural penalty here, as that kick never did elevate. And so the Corrections will have the ball first at their own 40-yard line to start things off. They, too, did a couple of good quality things during that first half, but after their initial drive, they almost lived exclusively at the line of scrimmage, Joe. Screen pass right or flank pass, to the right, flank to the left. A couple of runs up the middle, but they really haven't been able to stretch the field like the Crusaders have tried to.
Well, I think the key for them offensively is to try and find something beyond the line of scrimmage. And you said it, they've been living down around the line of scrimmage thus far.
Crusaders with a late substitution, and now we have whistles before the play. And we'll see if they had 12 guys in the huddle, Joe. That looked like that could have been the case, unless they granted the Crusaders a timeout here. But we got a stoppage of play, but then nothing else. So not sure if they just allowed a late substitution here. In any event, Threadgill is with Adles in the backfield. 4 wide receivers otherwise. The late give to Threadgill is up the middle for a gain of 5. And this is how they kind of started the first quarter, Joe, too. It's just power running up the middle. And they did soften up this Crusaders defense a little bit on that opening drive.
They did. And I think as the half went on, I mentioned it as well during the first half, that the Crusaders got a bit stronger up front as the half went on. And the running game just wasn't as effective as it was on that opening drive beyond the early going.
Threadgill now lines up to the left of Adels, gets it again. Good initial blocking up front, allows Threadgill to go up ahead for another 2-3 yards, and it'll set up a third and very short, third and about 2 on the play.
They got to the line very quickly ahead of that second down play. We'll see if they do it again ahead of third down right here. It looks like they're going to.
Yep, and sometimes the dive left and dive right are the best plays to go against penalties. You know, you don't allow your offensive line to hold when you're running plays like this. And if you're getting 3 and 5 yards every play, you're moving the sticks. Let's see if they go back to it here on third and short. Threadgill is now to the right of Adels. The fake to him. Now the pass to Wilson. In stride, makes the play. Gets taken down by O'Hara, but otherwise that was Wesley on the catch. Just a simple, 3-yard slant, Joe, and Wesley does the rest. He's been very active.
And that's just about as long as Adels has held the ball ahead of a throw all day. Not by much. They still got it out quickly, but that's a good look one-on-one on the outside on third and short.
So a minute and a half into this second half, they set up in Crusaders territory, and that time Threadgill has nowhere to go. And cleaning things up, Justin Black in the backfield. A loss of maybe 1 on the play. And that was really the first throw, with the exception of one that was negated from a penalty, that Adels has thrown past the line of scrimmage in this game. Fake to Threadgill. I thought Adels was expecting Threadgill to take that from him. Adels on the loose, gains a 35 inside the 30 and turns it into a first down. It looked like it might have been a busted play, Joe, at first, as we have an injury down right at the line of scrimmage, but they're going to move the sticks here again.
Another injury that does not look good, this time on the side of New York's Boldest, but as they attend to the injured player, we will get one more look at that play, and we'll see if perhaps you were right to say that Adels expected his back to take this handoff. We'll slow it down at the start of the play and then speed it up a bit once Adels breaks contain here. No, I think he was
a long ball
prepared
fake,
to keep it. It was a bit of a longer fake. And we'll speed it up here as he makes his way up the sideline.
And just a good job to tiptoe through that sideline, past that initial wave, and another first down here as Curto is back up under his own power, number 72. You see him on your screen, been a big part of this offensive line here in the first half. But, we don't have the luxury of live statistics, but past that first drive for corrections, Joe, I don't know if they had more than 2 first downs from there after that first drive. And here they are on their first drive of the second half. They've strung together a couple of first downs, and now they're within deep striking distance here.
Yeah, I'd go as far as to say I'm certain they didn't have more than 2 after that. I don't think they had more than 1, but they certainly had one somewhere. I don't think they had more than 2, though.
Opening drive, second half. 2.5 minutes in here. It's into his third quarter. Drive that started at the Boldest 40. They've traveled down 30 yards. Adels looking for some direction from his sideline. Takes the snap. The give in the flat. Wesley again. Couple of moves. Dives inside the 20-yard line. That'll move the sticks yet again. And just like Joshua Jefferson on the Crusaders side, Darren Wesley is starting to pile up the receptions and yardage here for the Boldest.
And that's what I was about to say right before this drive got started. I alluded to it. If you're New York's Boldest on this drive, what you wanted to do is try and expand your offensive play calling just a bit beyond that line of scrimmage and get the ball out a bit further down the field. It doesn't have to be to the extent of airing it out as the Crusaders have, with just about every pass attempt coming at 10 to 15 plus yards down the field, but they've gotten the ball out quickly. They've kept it within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage, and that keeps the defense honest. They can't stack the box and leave these receivers outside one-on-one throughout the entirety of the drive. They can beat you.
Trips left now as Wesley came out of the game. Now they look to the corner of the end zone on the right side, and that pass was broken up. Elevating to try and make the play was Cameron Palmer. The coverage, however, was very good.
I think in the NFL, they might have thrown a flag on this one, Dave. I don't think there should be, but you looked at that's a penalty. I take it back.
Straight up with the arms, huh?
Yeah, here's another look, Dave.
We do have 2 number 12s for the Crusaders. It could be Carlton there. Never does look back yet, and that little kind of wrap with the arm there could have been DeQueen Carlton or Daniel McLeish wearing number 12 for this Crusaders team. But a no call brings up a 2nd and 10, and now 3 wide receivers to the right. Wesley is still not back in the game. He went to the sideline after that last catch. Yuri is in motion. Adel settles it down, throws in the flat to Palmer. Palmer trying to dance out of a couple of tacklers. Can't do it. Good job by the Crusaders to stand up Palmer right at the line of scrimmage. Went nowhere. It'll bring up 3rd and long.
It's going to be a 3rd very long here. That one lost about 5 or 6. They're way back. I think they lost about 6 or 7 on that.
And, Joe, I lost Wesley on the sideline, but yeah, he's being worked on, I think, and he's out of the game. And just as I was about to say, you have to know where he is on the field at all times. He comes off of the field. And corrections now with a 3rd down. They put 20 up there, but it looks like a 3rd and about 14 as the first down marker is at about the 5. 3rd and 15. Adels with Threadgill in the backfield has to get that one down. Now he has no choice but to run with it and is going to run out of real estate. Might have picked up 2 or 3 on the play, but it's going to come down to 4th down here for corrections.
Well, it's 4th and long. You can get a first down without a touchdown. Given what we saw, as you do get a look toward the sideline right now, and you can see that it looked like Wesley was grabbing at his hamstring, so his status right now uncertain.
Yeah, he's back down, too. You saw it on the tail end there. But 4th down here, I don't believe it's 16. It should be 4th and about 12 here. I think the original line of scrimmage was the 16.
Well, you can look at the sticks right there.
Yeah, the ball's at the 18. Yeah, the sticks are a little obscured for me. But 4th and about 12 on the play. It's a big play here. Both teams. Opening drive, second half. We are working inside of 9 minutes to go in the 3rd. Adel settles another one down. Middle of the field. Augustus is in the neighborhood. He makes the catch at the 10. It'll be short of the first down, and the Crusaders will take over.
Well, I was about to say before that play that I thought, given what we saw before with the great deal of contact in the end zone, they might go in that direction again and try and draw the flag. But they throw short of the sticks, which is the one thing you can't do there. Have to give yourself a chance to pick up the first down. But on that drive, we did see some good things in the passing game from New York's Boldest. They were able to get the ball out quickly without having to rely solely upon the screen game as you get another look over at the sideline. Wesley still favoring that leg, but we'll see if he comes back on the next corrections offensive possession. And now Crusaders get yet another chance, trailing by just 6. They'll have to go a long way to tie this game, but an opportunity to do so with a score on this drive.
And good knowledge and wherewithal for the Crusaders defense to know where the sticks were there. And, you know, they didn't allow Augustus to make the easy catch, but they knew enough to wrap him up right where he was. Instead of interfering with him or instead of risking a pass interference there, you would kind of allow him to make that catch in traffic, but then, boom, immediately put him down 4 yards shy of the first down. Now, I'm trying to look in the huddle, and it is Williams who's going to continue to take the snaps here. So we haven't seen McCray at all, Joe, since he came out in favor of Williams. Now, McCray did throw 2 interceptions, and a lot of his passes there in the second period were off the mark considerably. But Williams did have that turnover in the red zone right before the end of the first half as well.
Well, they're backing him up again, Dave. Another pre-snap penalty. And I think something that's really concerning about these penalties is that they are coming ahead of the first play of the drive.
Yeah. It kind of screams of, you know, not being prepared, Joe. And I think those are preparedness penalties of, you know, you have to take a timeout on a punt situation because you don't know the personnel well. You're taking multiple delay of game penalties, you know, and sometimes that's a mark of just not being in the flow of the game. And they're taking a long time in the huddle here, too. 1st and 15 from the 5. And once again, Williams, the quarterback of record. It is Colton, and we have another flag here. And if this is another delay, it'll be a half the distance.
And there's a player down in the end zone as well.
Well, looked like he got steamrolled.
Now, I didn't even see a flag thrown. There was an obvious whistle, and you'd presume there was a flag, but I didn't see one on the field.
Well, on my binoculars, I have the white hat, and it's going to be a delay of game, I think, against the Crusaders. We knew they were taking a lot of time. And it'll be a half the distance penalty, so 2nd down and a long 17 coming up. Ball is between the 2 and the 3 yard line. Oh, it's 1st down. I'm sorry there, Joe. I was looking at the scoreboard in front of me. Yeah, it's 1st down. Our vantage point really obscured now. It's kind of hard to see what's going on behind the line of scrimmage for us, but it is Williams working out of the shotgun. He's going to look. Now scatters to his right. The pass in the flat. Not sure if there was anyone in the area, Joe, and if that's a grounding penalty, that's going to result in a safety. Keep your eye on the white hat here as they elect to make a call. Honestly, Joe, I did not see anyone in that area.
Well, there's nobody there. Did he get out of the tackle box?
Did he get out of the tackle? That was the next thing I was going to say.
We're going to pause it when he throws. Let's see. All right, so the tackle box would be just inside the hash. Just inside the hash.
And the pass obviously did go well ahead of the line of scrimmage. And now it'll be a 2nd down and 17.
The replay does not want to cooperate here. There we go.
There we go. Yeah, it does look like he's beyond that.
Really tough to
tell. Kind of hard, without the imaginary line there. But you saw the official right in the area staring it down.
So he's at about the beginning of the R in rocks. I think he's good. He was outside of the tackle box.
Yeah, looked like the start of the letter O is where the hash mark ends.
Yep.
But 2nd down and long. They do get motion here on this side. It's Wells who went from left to right to the near side. Errant snap, and it's going to go out of the end zone for a safety. Williams, it kind of bounced off of his fingertips as he had to extend to it. And 2 for the Boldest. They failed to score as they get in deep on the Crusaders, and the Crusaders just went backwards, and backwards again, Joe, and it cost them 2 points.
The miscues continue to pile up for New York in this game, and it's remained messy through halftime. I mentioned it going into the locker rooms for both teams that if you're the Crusaders, the number one thing you'd have to do coming out in the second half is to clean up the miscues that plagued you throughout the entire first half, because a lot of other things went well. In the passing game, they completed passes down the field. They didn't run the ball particularly well, handing it off, but they did have some big plays carrying the football from the quarterback position. And defensively, they were able to limit corrections to just the 6 points on a drive that started in plus territory. So outside of the major miscues, those being pre-snap penalties and the fumbles, you did a lot of good things in the first half. We've seen more of the bad early in the second half.
Yep, and safeties do not count as turnovers, but, it kind of hurts and inflicts that much more pain. And the Crusaders, who had 4 turnovers in the first half, are now the victims of a safety, so giving up something else on the offensive side of the ball. That time, 2 more points, and they're going to give the ball back to the Boldest on a very short field, most likely. And it's just one of those things, for the corrections, although they're not able to score on that drive, they pin the Crusaders so deep, and then you're inflicting some more self-inflicted wounds, if you will, with a couple of delay of game penalties, which have nothing to do with the Boldest team. That's all on you. And then they just make the play when it counts. As a matter of fact, all 3 plays, Joe, the 2 delay of game penalties and a bad snap, that has nothing to do with your opponent. It's all self-inflicted, unforced errors.
And now you have to perform a safety kick here.
Right. It's going to be a short field, like we mentioned. That one sky high, and you got to be really careful here as going down to a knee and simply downing it was Donnell Lazar, who has a interception in this game, almost had a pick six as well. But they are going to start at the Crusaders' 45-46 yard line here. Another short field, and having done some good positive things on their first drive.
Yeah, it was a good drive that stalled down around the red zone, and the Crusaders defensively, as I mentioned, have done a pretty good job up front in this game, creating pressure around the quarterback outside of that first drive, and it was a breed of smash-mouth football from corrections on the opening drive that helped propel them to the end zone. They've kept it more in the air since. We'll see if that continues. It worked well for them on their previous drive as Dave.
Crusaders have taken a timeout. Yep.
The first plays of drives for the Crusaders, be it on defense or on offense, have been a complete mess.
Yeah. And it's something that obviously they're going to go back. A lot of these guys are going to watch this stream. They're going to break it down. They're going to use this as tape, really, to kind of be critical of themselves. And I think that's the biggest takeaway is, how are we getting in and out of our huddle? How are we getting our personnel set up correctly? And, it doesn't seem like it now with, 23 minutes left in this game, 8 minutes here left in the third. But that timeout could be a big one down the stretch. And they just burned one there on the first play of this drive here for the Boldest.
It's been error upon error throughout this game, and it's been in all facets of the game. We've seen interceptions on offense. We've seen the fumbles. Defensively, we've seen the inability to get lined up without using a timeout. There's just been a collection of errors in this game that have added up to an 8-point deficit that certainly could be more. And I spoke about it at the end of the first half. There's a lot the Crusaders did well, but at this point in the game, they just can't get out of their own way.
Might be tough to spot on the screen, but there is a heavy mist coming down here on the field, so we'll see if that plays a factor here and how these teams get the ball out of their hands. Maybe it played a factor on that bad snap as well, and Williams' inability to kind of seal it up. Adams will work out of the shotgun as he's done all game. He's going to look to pass, get some added protection in the backfield, scatters to the right, multiple flags down, and he gets out of bounds at about the 45. No gain, might have gotten back to the line of scrimmage, maybe he gained 1 or 2, but this looks like it's coming back.
And we'll see if we can spot where the penalty occurred.
I think it's on 53, Joe. At least that was the demonstrate. Like, he was protesting after the play. I didn't hold, but I think
you have
that was
to protest, you probably held. More often than not, you probably held.
Yeah, so Hirsch didn't like the call, but 1st and 10 becomes 1st and 20. And the Boldest go from being in Crusaders territory now backed up into their own end of the field. Their own 44. Clock continues to run here.
Or does it? There it goes.
Yeah.
And I've mentioned plenty the Crusaders' errors in this game. The Boldest have not been free from their own mistakes either and put themselves in a position where this game could have went to halftime tied by snapping the ball over their punter's head. Here now, they're victimized by a holding penalty, and they've had a tough time battling the penalties at different points in this game.
Adams looked in the flat, now drops it down low to Augustus. Augustus looked to hurdle over one and could not shed the tackle of Rayshawn Harris, who upends him at about the 48-yard line. A minimal gain, a gain of about 3 or 4 on the play. It'll be 2nd and long.
Well, if you do that 2 or 3 times, you can set yourself up for a 4th down situation where maybe you consider going for it in plus territory. Things not going to get any easier on this drive, however, with 2nd and 16 coming up here. And if you're the Crusaders, you're content to allow that completion. You just have to make sure that you complete the play with a tackle at the end.
2nd down, officially 16. A long 16, short 17, if you will. And either way, clock moving here with 6:15 to go. In the flat, elevating, making the catch was Palmer. Palmer gets a lot of the penalty yardage and more back. It'll set up about a 3rd and 7 coming up. And there's another example of Cameron Palmer having to elevate, Joe, and, get one down between a couple of defenders and then doing some good job with the legs on a play that didn't look like it was going to amount to much.
And you're at the point now where Corrections is essentially daring the Crusaders to defend that screen pass, and they can't do it right now. The pass continues to get through and to be completed. It's been really tough for the Crusaders defensively to get down on that pass early enough. They've come close, but they've yet to get there and really make that big play that could change this game.
And so now on a 3rd down and 7, we will see what they draw up here. It's been exclusively pass on this drive. Adels has good protection, but has to dance his way out of it. Looking down for Augustus, he makes the catch near the line of scrimmage, but gets promptly taken down there. Not much of a gain on the play. Good job of gang tackling that time. DeJuan Skinner in at the stop initially, polished off by Silla.
And here's another look at it. Good job by Adels just to get rid of this football and give his guys a chance to make a play, but nothing coming from it. No yardage gained, and they're going to go for it here on 4th down, Dave.
Yeah,
Plus territory. What do you think?
You know, I don't know if I like this call, only because, you know, obviously the last time they punted, they got into really big trouble with the snap, so I understand.
That's the biggest reason
you're
to go
taking,
for it.
Yeah,
otherwise,
you're taking that
I would
off
not.
the table.
I would not otherwise.
But, yeah, the way your defense is played, I'd probably sooner back them up further. But let's see here. 4th down and 7. Doesn't matter if you make it. Adel steps up in the pocket. The throw, it's off the shoulder pads and incomplete, intended for Lazaire. And that one hit him right above the numbers, Joe, and that probably should have been a 1st down.
It definitely should have been a 1st down, but I was trying to point out the window to you ahead of the play. The rain's coming down a bit more forcefully than it has at any point in this game, and you could see the rain being blown around as well by the wind, and not ideal pass-catching conditions. That being said, I'm not sure it gets much easier than this. The look was there. There was a big pocket in that Crusaders defense, and that's a throw through a tight window for the quarterback, but the receiver had that open pocket to sit down in, and they just couldn't connect on it. So the Crusaders catch a break there, and they essentially trade 2 points for about 30 yards of field position.
Right.
They get the ball back now at their own, I'd say closer to 40 yards of field position. They're 40, at their own 42.
42, right. So, yeah, certainly a risky play. But, you know, we were critical of Corrections and their inability to throw the ball down the field. But you got to give Lamonte Adels some credit. That was a well-thrown ball. Like you said, through a couple of windows there, he threaded the needle, and that's about as good as passes we've seen down the field. And unfortunately, though, we'll see if the Crusaders can take advantage. That one up the sideline, and Lazaire got his hands on that one as it was drifting out of bounds. Good coverage once again. Corrections have really, hate to say it, forgive the pun, they've corrected their downfield coverage, Joe, really well since that opening couple of drives of this game.
And is that really the man you want to challenge down the field?
Yeah.
Because they keep going at him, and he keeps winning those matchups. There really hasn't been a play where he's been the one that has been beaten in coverage, if I remember correctly. I have to go way back and confirm on those pair of deep balls, but I don't think those went his way.
Now, Joe, I am looking at the Crusaders sideline, and, oh, yeah, maybe that's McCray at the end, but I was going to say I really don't even see McCray at all in the game. I think that right now he's at the 45-yard line of the Corrections team, kind of by himself. So you wonder if that's him. I don't know. He has his arms folded. But if that's him, if he's upset that he was taken out of this game, and the Crusaders here have been stuck in neutral a little bit. 2nd down and 10. Another bad snap. Williams has to track it down. Thought about running. Throws it in traffic. It's almost intercepted. And that one, too, Jermaine Wilson would have had a lot of real estate if he's able to come up with that, had to reach across his body. In any event, incomplete will bring up 3rd and 10.
And it was very easy to forget the dropped pick in the first half for Corrections amidst a host of other mistakes, but they have had arguably 12 points go straight through their hands in this game. They had a pick six along the sideline, no doubt, on a short pass with McCray under pressure. And right there, I think they had another, Dave, because a lot of the Crusaders' offense ended up down the field there. And that was obviously a dangerous throw, but an ill-advised throw as well. And that's an attempt passing down the field that you can't make if you're Williams.
Yeah, you're running to your right, throwing back into the middle of the field. That's always a little dangerous. And the snaps are starting to become an adventure, too, here now for the Crusaders. It cost them a safety. And now we have a flag. And it's going to be a delay of game again against the Crusaders.
Not surprised by that, Dave. If we have enough time to run the replay again,
right,
usually that's not good news for the team on offense, because for us to get time to run 2 replays, it usually means things are lagging a bit on the offensive side. And sure enough, they were as the flag comes in, setting up a 3rd and 15.
Right, and the rain now coming down pretty heavy. It's like a thick mist, but now it is coming straight down, and you could, I think, noticeably see it on your screens now at home. It's a factor. 3rd down and 15. The Boldest do not send extra pressure, and another fumbled snap, as that one didn't look as bad as the previous ones, but the only play for Anthony Williams is just to fall on top of it, and it ends up being a 7-yard loss. It'll be a 4th down and 22 coming up, and we'll probably see the punt team here.
Things going from bad to worse for the Crusaders here in this 3rd quarter. They did a lot of good things in the first half. I think right now, that's a distant memory. It has been a nightmare 3rd quarter for them.
Well, and then the snaps too, Joe, and now they have to snap for a punt. As back there to take it is David Adekoya, who's going to do the punting. So watch the snap here first and foremost. That's been an adventure for this Crusaders team in the 3rd quarter. Did it get bright? Oh, the lights went on.
The lights just went on, yep.
Flag down. It's going to be a delay against the Crusaders.
Have the officials confirmed it?
They have, yeah. I saw the gentleman who threw the flag on the far sideline. So it'll be a 4th and 27 coming up. And at this point, we'll probably see the Boldest with great field position to start this off. It's been a recurring theme. Remember, the Crusaders started this drive from the 42-yard line.
And I think if you're the Boldest entering this drive, your mindset now has to be one more score is enough.
Right. Snap was decent, but bobbled a bit. A chance here to pick this up and return it. They do, but stonewalled at the 40 was Aston, I believe. Actually, it was 0 Jermaine Wilson who got on top of it. Not number 8, but the backdrop of all this, too, is we're coming down to the end of the 3rd quarter. There's only 1 minute and 36 seconds remaining in this stanza. Corrections with an 8-0 lead over the Crusaders. A touchdown on the game's, on what was their first opening drive of the game. And then, of course, a safety here to open up play in the second half.
And watching that last play back, I think the question I had was whether or not the Crusaders player who was pushed toward the football actually touched it. Because if he didn't, that was not a free opportunity to scoop up that punt for corrections. And as soon as they did, 2 or 3 Crusaders were closing in on the return man and making that a very precarious few seconds there, because there was no room to run, and only bad things can happen when you scoop the ball up and take a hit immediately.
And we've just seen a penalty whistled against the Corrections. I didn't know if that was a part of the last play, but they are backing them up pretty heavily. So I think it's a personal foul at the end of that play, Joe. So now, instead of starting at the 40 of the Crusaders, they're starting off at their own 45.
See if we can spot it here. We'll get one more look as they respot the football.
I don't know if there was a touch there, but something happened after the play.
Well, didn't see it there.
Yeah.
Action about to resume.
All right, here we go. Corrections running the ball up the middle. That time it is Aston, and he gets stonewalled after a gain of about 3 and then pushed backward. But they started, Joe, both halves, the Corrections have started by really running and pounding the football. And then, of course, they've gone to the pass a lot more beyond that. But when they have run the ball, they've been able to spin off 3 and 5 yard chunks. We'll see if they utilize that at least here to get us into the fourth quarter. And again, with the way the ball has been slipping out of people's hands and all that other good stuff, you wonder if that's not the smart play here as well. Well, as we see Adels
go empty.
Go empty and be the only one in the backfield.
They might motion a back down here.
3 to the right, or the near side, I should say, to the left of Adels. He looks in that direction, now works sideline, and the catch was not made. That ball popped up and was up for grabs, but ultimately ends up incomplete. Casmel Manat, the intended receiver. And I'll tell you, this offense has changed a lot since Wesley has gone to the sideline, Joe.
I was about to say to you after that last play that to the credit of Corrections, not only have they adjusted in the absence of Wesley, but they've really adjusted their play calling from what we saw in the first half to afford their offense a bit more balance. And we saw in that first drive in this third quarter that it worked out well. So to their credit, they've changed things up a bit, and they put together a good drive that unfortunately for them did not result in any points. A strong possession nonetheless.
Another big play for the Crusaders defense. 3rd down and 7. Adels looks left, dodges out of a would-be sack, looking to gain the sideline, gets the edge, the 50, and is thrown out of bounds about 3 yards shy of the first down. It's close, and with 20 seconds left, another decision here for the Boldest.
What would you do, Dave?
I would punt it. The way your defense is playing, and the Crusaders really haven't been able to generate anything offensively. In fact, they've been closer to turning the ball over repeatedly than anything else. I would just back them up. Why give them an excuse?
I think the decision you're weighing here is, do the Crusaders have a better chance of scoring on a special teams miscue or from this spot on the field?
Right.
And
it's a fair point.
I think the answer to that might be special teams miscue right now.
Yeah, because of course the last time the Boldest punted was when the when the snap went well over the head of Fusco, and they ended up giving the Crusaders the ball at the 20-yard line in the red zone. Of course, the Crusaders did not score on that opportunity, as I think we might be ending the third quarter here, Joe. I mean, the clock is running.
Yeah, the quarter is over. Yeah. They're getting a lot of time to think about it, which certainly helps, and I think that lends toward going for it.
Yeah, and their punter is nowhere near where the huddle is, so they are going for it here.
Before, they went for it at about, the 40?
Right, yep.
So they're maybe 10 to 15 yards further back here.
Yeah, and, conceivably, Joe, the same logic I just used is the same reason why you'd go for it, too. You trust your defense. They're playing so well, and the Crusaders really haven't been doing much of anything on offense these last few drives. That what's the difference if they start at the 10 or the 45? But still, the conservative in me and the conservative coach in me says you punt the football here and you dare the Crusaders to get back in the game.
I'm going for it.
You don't give them the excuse.
I'm going for it only because I think their best chance of scoring against you is if you have a special teams miscue.
Adels is going to take it himself all the way. Right side. Flags are down. He does have the first down. Was just able to get it. But it looks like this one is coming back. Harris made the tackle. There was enough. And once again, Christopher Hirsch is protesting a great deal on the offensive side of the ball. And if they back him up for holding, maybe that takes this decision out of their hands. It will be a hold against Corrections. So a 4th and 3 becomes a 4th and 13. And Fusco's in the game to punt.
Well, now you have to punt it. And let's see. There's the hold, Dave.
Yeah,
That's clear as day.
Yes.
That is as clear as day. I don't know how you could protest that.
And the player being held, Giovanni Joviar, ended the play right in front of the official.
Yeah.
So he was held into the official, if you would. And the official had no choice there. So on 4th and 13, Crusaders get the last of their substitutions in. Fusco counting them down. Play clock moving. So is the game clock with 14:30 to go in the fourth quarter. The time is now for the Crusaders. And Michael Lewis has been a playmaker on some of these returns. We'll see if he can field something clean and turn in a big play. Last time they punted, it was a poor snap. This time it's a short punt. End over end goes right at about the 45-yard line. So, Joe, a 13-yard punt, also leads to some second guessing as well.
And a punt that was nearly blocked.
Yes,
Very
indeed.
nearly blocked. That's exactly why I was willing to go for it on 4th and short. I think the Crusaders have a better chance of scoring on a miscue coming from a punt than they do driving from their own 40 right now, because the miscues have kept them moving backwards. And since the quarterback change, they have not had the same downfield passing attack.
No.
And have not looked to run from the quarterback position nearly as often.
And Jefferson, too, Joshua Jefferson, who had a smoking hot start to this game, has been relatively silent here through about the midway point of the second quarter on. Williams is still in the game at quarterback. 1st and 10 for the Crusaders at their own 45-yard line. We have 14-15 remaining in regulation. Crusaders down by the full breadth of a touchdown. It is Jefferson in motion. He gets it on the handoff, working towards the far sideline, gets stood up, but stretches ahead for a gain of about 5. Tackle made by Clarence Curley.
Good start to the drive for the Crusaders on the ground, and that's arguably their most effective handoff of the game. We've seen the quarterback keep the ball and run with some level of effectiveness, especially early when McCray was in, and now they're able to hand the ball off here, and they get another man in the offensive backfield as well as a lead blocker. You mentioned that there were 2 number 12s, Daniel McLeish and Daquin Carlton.
2nd down and 5. And again, the Crusaders are taking a long time to get set up here.
It's been almost a minute since that snap.
Exactly. More motion here. It was Wells in motion. He gets the handoff, and he's going to be bottled up. That's going to be a 4-yard loss. Finishing him off was Palmer. And we have an official timeout on the field as we have a injury here. Jefferson, who looked like he was hobbling, Joe, to the line of scrimmage anyway. And that's one way to get your injured guy off the field.
It's almost like a big shot.
He did. He took a huge shot. And now he's up and kind of hobbling on his own. There he is. You see him on your screen. Good looks by Vinny Massacol upstairs. But lost in all that was a 4-yard loss. So coming up now is 3rd and long. I was going to say it's good to see the Crusaders going back to the run game, Joe, and not officially abandoning it, because it did feel like from the mid-first quarter on, they've just completely abandoned the run game. But still, that was a good chunk loss on the play.
Well, many of their drives have ended up in 3rd down where they've been forced to pass, and they've come through in those situations, especially in the first half. Here in the second half, not the case.
Williams out of the shotgun. He's had some problems with some snaps here. In motion is Hubbard. Hubbard takes the handoff. He has a hold up top. Hubbard gets to about the 50, just shy of it. But it looks like this one's coming back. Or, Joe, Corrections does have the option here of taking the result of the play. It was only a gain of 3. So do you make it 3rd down and 19 or 4th and 6?
I'd back him up, Dave.
I would too. You're forcing something dangerous down the field on a passing play. And that's what they'll do. Yes, they'll back them up here and they'll take the yard. So 3rd and 9 becomes 3rd and 19. So we both agree it's the sound decision here for the Boldest here to take the result of the penalty. And now if you're the Crusaders in a thick kind of misting rain here in East Rockaway, need to make a big play. They get some late arrivals into the huddle. Once again, the clock is moving here. 12 and a half to go. first down marker is at the Boldest 45-yard line. We have a whistle, and I think there's going to be a timeout by the Crusaders. So the Crusaders have called their second timeout, and undoubtedly that one to avoid a delay of game penalty again. And they'll need to draw up something good here on 3rd and 19. Don't have to get it all here. You would think they're working in 4-down territory. And I think lost in all this, Joe, too, is, if the Crusaders end up falling in this game, they would have felt really good about what their defense has done today. Apart from that first drive where you're still kind of figuring things out, you're still kind of working on personnel and getting in and out of the huddle and matching up. You don't know what to expect from this Boldest team. I think all intents and purposes, they played a very, very good game here. And that might get lost here if they end up losing this game.
It certainly could, but it shouldn't. And I mentioned it at the end of the first half. You have to be pretty pleased with what you've done defensively since the first drive. And it's really been that one drive that's been the exception to what has been a strong defensive game. On the first drive in the third quarter, Corrections did move the ball pretty well. We saw some good things from them as they began to vary up the play calling, incorporating some more passes outside of the screen game. But they didn't score on that drive. And your defense has only given up 6 points in this game.
Right.
That drive began deep in your own territory following the first fumble of the game. And then obviously the next 2 points came on a safety. That's not the responsibility of your defense. So the Crusaders have to be pleased with the way they played defensively in this game, but the miscues on the offensive side have hamstrung them from the beginning. And now with a 3rd and 19, you're looking at another situation where your defense could be forced to get back on the field in their own territory. You'd like to pick up at least something here to make it a sure thing that this punt sends the Corrections offense back across onto their own side of midfield.
Right, and if you're the Boldest, you have some options too here defensively, sending in some extra help here on Williams. It is Hubbard in motion. And it is going to be Williams sprinting out to the right. Sidearm throw caught in the middle of the field and spilled out of bounds past the original line of scrimmage. It was Jeff Wells on the catch. So it cuts the yardage to go in half, Joe. Now it's 4th and a little bit more manageable, about 8 yards they'll need. Clock continues to run here, 11:45 remaining.
Yeah, 4th and 8, Dave.
Yep.
I'm going here.
Oh, yes, I would as well. I think anything from here on in is 4-down territory, especially because as the Crusaders, they've played good enough defensively where you don't fear a field goal taking you out of the game here or anything like that. So
I think if you trusted the punting unit to pin this one back inside the 30, I'd consider kicking. But on a day like today, you just go.
Yeah. All right, so they sent Hubbard in motion last time. He's in the slot on the near side. He again started the motion. Bad snap. Williams picks it up, tracks back to the other side. He's going to run out of real estate, and he swings it out into the flat. We have a flag down. Back at the line of scrimmage, the Crusaders are right at the sticks. They look a little bit short. And we have a discussion going on in the backfield. We know what this leads to 9 times out of 10. But what's interesting here, Joe, too, is the result of the play. Because if this,
got it.
Yeah, I do too, now that I see the spot. But if you didn't get it, you decline the penalty if it's against the Crusaders. Let's see.
I think the signal was an eligible man downfield.
Yep. It's illegal touch? Well, they're saying it was short. Well, the ball was right.
They didn't get it. They declined the penalty, turnover on down. So,
but Joe,
where is the illegal touch?
But Joe, also, if I'm the Crusaders, I'm demanding a spot. That ball is right at the first down marker. It's on the 45-yard line, and that's exactly where the stick is.
Well, let's go back and see where the illegal touch occurred. Was it an offensive lineman who caught the pass? It was.
Oh, it was.
It was an eligible receiver.
Look at that, 38.
But
right?
he was the 6th man on the line.
Well,
so he did not report eligible because that's the tight end spot.
And
now let's slow it down at the end
and see where
And
he
see
ends up.
how
Yeah, it's hard.
close.
We were obscured a little bit, and I still don't know where the ball is here. Now, they're putting it in Crusaders territory.
Oh, I don't know how
So
that's possible.
I'm all sorts of confused.
They didn't get it, Dave. He was short.
Yeah, I believe so. I believe that too. But, I mean, is that where are they going?
There had to have been another penalty after the play was over.
So, but it would have been a 20-yard penalty just about? Because that ball was at the 45.
You're right.
Now it's at the 36.
The Crusaders were a man short on the field, and I think they just called timeout.
We're looking at about so, again, we don't know exactly the result of what happened there, but wherever the ball was spotted,
I don't know
at
how
the
we
result
ended
of that
up
play,
here.
we're 19 yards up the field. So I don't know how you can have a 19-yard penalty unless it was a spot of the foul, Joe, and you lose the down on the illegal touch. I think that's what it is.
Well, they declined it.
No, but it was
They declined the illegal touch.
Yeah, but you could take the result of the play and a pick six. Flags are down. But here we go. Malik Sanders picks it off in the flat, and it's to the house for the touchdown. There was a flag, Joe, and Sanders might have gotten a head start. And maybe that's why he was in the backfield intercepting that in stride. Where is the white hat? And it's a touchdown. It was against – wow. That penalty was against the Boldest, Joe, and the biggest play of the game is about to happen right after the biggest play of the game just happened.
I'm not often speechless, Dave. I am speechless at this play. We're going to slow it down.
Run that back one more time.
We're going to run it back slowly.
Because
I told you, Dave, all game they were daring them to defend these screen passes. Well, they did.
Wow.
So what they did differently, they took one of their linebackers and pulled him off the line of scrimmage, put him into that area where that trips alignment, that bunch was, and I'm sure that ahead of that play, they told Sanders, sell out, and jump it, because he's not going to be blocked. The man blocked on all of these screen passes has been the outside cornerback in most cases. This time, I think they lent a linebacker to it, and that resulted in the pick six. Chance to tie here.
Yeah, well, what do they say? Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. That time the Crusaders were not fooled. Big play here. Williams out of the shotgun. Carlton to his right. Could be McLeish as well. He's in there to lend some support. Stepping up in the pocket is Williams, and he's going to be thrust to the ground. The two-point conversion comes up empty, and the Boldest hold, and it's 8-6 in favor of the Boldest with 10:28 remaining in regulation.
Not really much there on that play. The pocket collapsed immediately, and they had a potential one-on-one on the right side of the end zone. We'll get one more look at it here. Take a look toward the outside. Yeah, there's nothing. That was a double move. So if you look here, defensively, number 29 on the side of the corrections, that's Shaquille Melville. I think he was assigned to the quarterback. So he's probably not looking over his shoulder. And I think Williams just gave up on this too soon. If you look back toward the right side of the screen, it's a double move on the outside. Out route, pivot back inside. That ball probably is going to have a tough time coming out when it needed to because of the pressure. But as he stepped up, he could have taken that chance. If you give up a pick two, it doesn't really matter. It's still a 4-point game. You're not kicking a field goal anyway.
Yeah.
So
it's a fair point there, Joe, because, again, even if you're Williams and you're just like, putting out a jump ball out there, it's still better than, taking that sack. Because, again, if you give up the pick two, it's not like you're going to fix to kick a game-winning field goal in this game. At least I just don't think that that's the case.
They sent 7, Dave.
Yeah.
And they dropped one off. They sent 6. So you're probably not blocking 6. And if your offensive linemen don't understand the look they're getting correctly, you could very well have 1 or 2 guys standing there waiting for somebody to rush who's not coming. And on that play, as we have even more time here waiting for a tee, take a look, Dave. You'll see in the middle here, the player assigned to the quarterback drops back into coverage after initially standing in the box, but they sent 6. right here, Melville was assigned to the quarterback. He was lined up in the box. And if your offensive linemen don't see that properly, you're going to have somebody running untouched. They had 2 or 3 come in untouched.
That kick, a much better one, but it does not reach where it needs to be. And so they'll start this one at the 40-yard line. But the Crusaders have a little bit of breathing room here because now they're down by just 2. And there's still 10 and a half minutes left. And if you're corrections or if you're a corrections fan, you have to start second-guessing a little bit those throws into the flat because now the Crusaders have shown that they've made that adjustment. At least Malik Sanders has, and is not going to get fooled again. And so do you go back and straight up try to run the football, take the time off the clock and try to work 3 and 5 yards at a time, or are you going to put the ball in harm's way again?
Objective number 1, don't turn the ball over.
Don't turn the ball over, and I believe that was their first turnover too. The run up the middle, Threadgill gets pounded early and gets put down after no gain, really. That first hit came a yard or 2 behind the line of scrimmage. Officials want them to start the clock here, and now they do a little bit late. So it'll be 2nd and 10.
So is the clock stopped to spot the football?
No. It never started, Joe, on that play. But again, they're keeping it, I think, on the field because, the quarters have ended with still some time on the clock, but they'll match up eventually. 2nd down and 10. Adels with the long count. Gives it up the middle and not fooled were the Crusaders. That time it was Robert Gay up the middle, but there was nothing going on. He gets taken to the ground about 2 or 3 yards behind the line of scrimmage. Actually, that's a 4-yard loss. So now it's 3rd down and 14 with 9.5 to go.
Do they run it again, Dave?
Well, that's my question to you, I guess, Joe, is what do you do in a play like this? Do you roll Adels out a little bit and look in the middle of the field again?
I'd let him move. I'd roll him out like you just said. They have 4 receivers wide setting up here. He can roll in either direction. Watch out for the halfback motion here as well. Maybe they try and draw the attention to him and throw down the field. That's probably what I would go for.
4 wide receivers otherwise. Adels is passing all the way. Now steps up in the pocket and gets hit hard at the 30-yard line. Another loss on the play. The Crusaders fixing to get the ball back here with minimal time having come off the clock, about 1 minute and 40 seconds. Fusco working his way back on. They'll be in punt formation here. And I'll tell you what, Joe, the Crusaders' defense in this game, they yield the game-opening touchdown on a short field. But since then, they've had the only scoring for the Crusaders, and you need a 3-and-out, you get a 3-and-out.
This defensive front for New York's been really good in this game, Dave. They've collapsed the pocket quickly, and if Adels isn't rolling out, he's probably not getting a throw-off. So I think that's a big reason why we saw the screen game such a large part of the game plan earlier for the corrections.
Lewis back deep for the Crusaders. Fusco, clean snap. That one is up. It'll be played on the fly by Lewis. Drops down initially, past the 50, the 45, and it stood up at the 41-yard line. But that's where the Crusaders will take over. And now we got some extracurriculars after the play. Hopefully these guys can separate themselves on their own, and we hope cooler heads will prevail here. But Lewis came up without a helmet, Joe, and that's maybe why he took exception there.
Well, here's a look at the tail end of that play and what happened. And there was some shoves exchanged in that pile. Exception taken.
Helmet came off there just about.
Not too much there.
7:43 remaining in the game. The Crusaders down 8-6. Sloppy, yes, a lot of penalties, a lot of turnovers, but a very entertaining game here from East Rockaway. The opening game of the season, essentially, for the Crusaders on the field of play. They're 0-1 this season, a forfeit loss. That came after a Week 1 bye in the Big East, an unexpected bye. The ball spotted at the 43-yard line officially. The Crusaders, we haven't seen any indication of a field goal kicking game from them in this one. So you'd have to think it's end zone or bust, and it's 4-down territory or bust as well. Williams stays in the game. Joining him in the backfield is Stevens. Stevens now moves over from left to right. Trips on the right side for the Crusaders. Shotgun snap. Williams is going to turn to that right side. He's going to look, and that one came off the hands awkwardly, Joe. Kind of just slipped out. Well out of bounds. Second down.
Williams hit as he threw on that one. And if you take a look down the field here, you'll see there was a one-on-one opportunity. He was going to have to get a lot on this ball and probably drop a dime in the back of the end zone. You're not going to see too well what it looked like down the field, but you had one receiver running a go route up the sideline, another receiver coming underneath him to the corner. I would say the right throw was probably to the receiver heading for the corner because they had that area cleared out pretty well. We'll get one more look at it here ahead of this next snap. But with trips on that side, you bring one guy underneath short. They did that. One deep and then one to the corner. But there wasn't really much.
And, Joe, we're in that dangerous place where we've watched the replay a couple of times, so it leads you to believe that there's not much time here. Crusaders need to run a play.
How long is the play clock?
Williams will once again skate over to the right. He looks in the low flat, but that one was a little bit behind and dropped by DeJuan Skinner. It's kind of on his right shoulder pad. Couldn't track it down. It'll be 3rd down and 10. Clock stops with 7:09 to go.
We've seen a couple of these in this game in key spots. One by corrections, another here by the Crusaders where an open man just had the ball go straight through his hands. And you can't say the weather hasn't played any role in this game because we've seen some drops and some bad snaps and muffed snaps that have been, in all likelihood, a direct result of the conditions.
On a better day, those things probably don't happen. And right now, that safety is the difference in this game. 3rd down and 10. Big play here. Hubbard is in motion. Will he get the handoff? He did. He bobbled it at first, is able to get the edge, spins at the 40, lost the ball again. It's down. The Crusaders have fallen on top of it. The result of all this was about a 2-yard gain. Jeff Wells was the one who came down with it. Clock continues to move. It'll be 4th down and 8 coming up. And again, it looked like another play, Joe, that was doomed from the start because of the bad transition. And you wonder if that slippery ball is the reason why.
You'd have to assume so.
Yeah, that seems simple enough.
Yeah.
Of a transition.
There's a huge block on that play as well.
Yeah, I saw that on 33, right?
That was DeJuan Skinner.
Yeah.
Throwing a huge block there.
Yeah, he leveled Saul De Los Santos on the play. We saw that. But the clock is running. We have 6.5 minutes to go on a huge 4th down here. Crusaders are running out of opportunities. Down by 2. Williams. Back to pass. Lot of pressure. And the strip sack fumble is picked up by corrections. Taken down inside the 40-yard line of the Crusaders. And on the Crusaders' 5th turnover of the game, it comes on 4th down, and corrections gets the ball back.
No time for Williams. Again, they bring pressure. This time they send 5, and the Crusaders just unable to block it. We've seen that on more than one occasion in this game where corrections has just sent more than the Crusaders can block.
Yeah, well, Michael Lewis ends up making the tackle on the play, Joe, to save the touchdown, but he just waves at the defensive lineman who's coming in. Look, he doesn't even really put up much of a fight. He's in the backfield right now, and then look, he just olayed the defensive lineman, and that's just a free pass.
Yeah.
And that's just about inexcusable there if you're Lewis, especially when your goal there is just to block. It doesn't look like he was running a route or looking for a soft screen there. But here we go. Corrections gets the ball back. 6:02 left. Addles in gorgeous field position. Gives over to Aston. Aston goes straight ahead for about 3. And that's all you really have to do right now if you're the Department of Corrections. Just Straight ahead, plow forward 2, 3, 4 yards.
I'm running it 4 times.
Yes, I agree with you, Joe. I would not put the ball in the air. And at the very least, if you go 4 and out, you're leaving about 2.5 minutes remaining. I mean, the Crusaders do have 1 timeout left, but.
And Dave, the yardage that the Crusaders gave up by fumbling that ball and having it returned all the way back into their territory, critical yardage they gave up there. You were better off taking a knee than seeing that happen.
100%. There's really not much Williams could have done there either.
No, nothing. Had no blocking.
Nothing. So, second down, about a long 7 on the play. The give is up the middle to Aston again. He gets plowed into from behind, actually sent him forward a couple of yards. Giovanni Joviar with the tackle. Make it about a 3rd and 5, maybe a little bit less than that.
Well, Dave, they are not showing much respect to this corrections run game right now. If you look in the offensive backfield here, and they get there, but the defenders now have their eyes elsewhere, on the quarterback, on the receivers, and this defensive front continues to win that battle at the line of scrimmage, and there hasn't been much running room for the back, even with defenders occupied elsewhere.
Ricky Aston stays in the game to the left of Adles. 3rd down and 5 as we approach 4 minutes to go in regulation. And that time, nowhere to go. Aston is bottled up just inside the original line of scrimmage. That's a loss of 4 on the play. It'll set up a 4th and 9. And this is a big play here. Again, if you're the Crusaders, you have 1 timeout in your pocket. If you get a stop here, you're going to get the ball back with just over 3 minutes to go. So there'll still be plenty of time. But you need a stop here.
I'm at the point, Dave, where I would consider max protect trying to punt it out of bounds, but can you trust the ability to punt it out of bounds?
Almost like a quick kick kind of opportunity here.
Yeah, I would try and kick a line drive out of bounds, but they're going to go for it here. And I don't blame them. I think there's a lot of risk involved with punting, but they did so successfully before.
They will snap this. Actually, they're going to call a timeout. I think this is smart by the Boldest here. They have the 3 timeouts. So you take one here with the play clock probably at 1 second. There's 3:20 left on the clock, and maybe you do think about that here, Joe. On a 4th and 9, you're talking it over. I'm trying to spot where the kicker is, number 34, and if he's anywhere near the discussion here. I don't think he is, but
Vinny's got him.
Oh, he does. Where is he?
He's right at the 50.
Okay, so he's the one with the
He's got a football in his hand.
He's got a football, yeah. So he's ready to, in case he needs to go out there. He's looking at his shoes. He's saying, "Yep, I have it in me."
Have enough traction with the slick turf.
He's had a bit of an adventure today, has Fusco, of course, with that snap that went over. I think he actually made a great play on that play where he ended up kicking it from his own 9, and it went to the 23. And it changed a little bit of the dynamic there instead of being 1st and goal. But they are indeed going to go for it here. 3:10 remaining in the game. Boldest up by 2 points. The difference, the safety that their defense gave them. Crusaders crowding the line. Now they step off. Adles wide open, and it's dropped. Casmel Manat could not double back to it in time. It just looked from when that was thrown, Joe, that was trouble. But the Boldest leave 6 on the table and give the ball back to the Crusaders. Can the New York Crusaders make that mistake hurt?
Well, that was a game-ending completion if they connect there. And the ball was a bit short. That being said, has to be caught.
Yeah.
Has to be caught. As an offensive player, you know all eyes are on you. You're looking up into the rainfall, into the lights. And the moment maybe got a bit too big because you're catching that 99 times out of 100, even on a rainy day.
Yeah. And, Joe, if you noticed at the start of that play, the Crusaders, once they knew it was a pass, they tried to jump that screen again. They thought it was going in the flat. You saw 2 and 3 cornerbacks just jut up right to the line of scrimmage, and that is what left Manat wide open. A great fake by the Boldest. They just couldn't complete the play. The Crusaders, 65 yards away from pay dirt. Williams drifting to his right, going middle of the field. That's a good throw down the field and a good defensive play. 1v1, and a nice job by the Boldest that time to get to that one.
And we'll get a second look at it here on replay as I'm manually operating our clock as well. But they do take a shot downfield on first down. And, you know, there was a lot of hand fighting going on down the field.
Yeah, but
Dave,
it's tough. But I don't mind the no call there, Joe, only because that ball is thrown in a position where it's really whoever makes the play on the ball is gonna win that ball. And
I think the reason that they got away with it is because, like I said earlier in the game, when you play defensively with just one hand on the receiver, you can get away with something. I think he had two hands on him. He was not looking back at the ball. When he made the play at the end, he turned his head. But that's a really shaky situation for a defensive back.
2nd and 10 for the Crusaders. They went for the deep ball on first down. Will they try to move the sticks here on 2nd and 3rd? 2:37 to go. The Crusaders have one timeout. They're down by 2. Williams steps up, middle of the field. That one is overthrown, and we have a flag down in the second. That's going to be a late hit in the offensive backfield. And it looks like Williams took a shot after the play. I don't know if our camera picked it up, Joe, but that's going to be 15 yards and an automatic first down if it is what we think it is.
And I think that is what it is. We'll slow it down. Maybe we'll capture the hit. The ball just a bit high, and throws like that are going to be tough to complete in weather like this, but we'll slow it down right here and get a look at what happened in the offensive backfield.
I do think, however, just like we said at the end of the first half, Joe, that passes in the middle of the field will be there for the Crusaders. It's just a question of, does Williams have enough time in the pocket to really be able to survey the field and find whoever's in the middle? Ball spotted at just inside the 50-yard line. You see it clear as day on your screen. And the Crusaders, you feel a field goal's off the table. They got to score here. 50 yards away with 2 minutes and 32 seconds left. Williams looks to his right. Middle of the field. It's incomplete. Went through the hands of Jeff Wells. That should have been caught.
Should have been caught. Could have been intercepted, Dave. Another very, very dangerous moment for the Crusaders there as they nearly committed another turnover, but credit to Williams. He put this ball right on target.
As he was taking a hit too, Joe.
As he was being hit, and that's one that needs to be caught yet again. Oh, that's a bad drop.
Right through the hands that are in front of the face mask, and Wells wants to have that one back. You have to figure as the receiver, Joe, you're thinking about the fact that you're going to take a big hit, but it's one of those plays when the game is on the line and your backs are up against the wall, they have to be made. It's 2nd down and 10. 2:27 to go. Williams. Bennett moves over from right to left. Williams is looking now on the near side towards the sideline. Jump ball incomplete. Broken up. That pass was short. And it was a nice play by Palmer to knock it down. And if anything, that's not the first time we've seen, Joe, the offensive player becomes a little bit of a defensive player there, prevents the interception.
And how many times have the Crusaders put their receivers in this situation, throwing the jump ball down the field, and as you said, turning them into defenders, that ball thrown up into double coverage. And the way the Crusaders have looked to air it out down the field, you have to think there would be some openings for them underneath to try and complete something and run after the catch. No better time than now on 3rd and long to do that and make it a 4th down and more manageable, or perhaps even pick up a first down.
Yep, and again, I think the middle of the field has to be on the table here for the Crusaders. You got the 2 high safeties working predominantly in the corners, giving the cornerbacks help. There's got to be something underneath that zone that is going to be left unprotected. If, of course, Williams has the time to throw, which that has been a question, and we have a false start. So now 3rd and 10 becomes 3rd and 15.
They'd stayed away from the costly error and pre-snap penalty on this drive when they needed to most until now. 3rd and 15 with that false start, and that really changes things quite a bit. You could pick up 7 or 8 now, and you're about halfway there. Before, that puts you within 2 or 3 yards. Huge difference in that regard, especially at this juncture in the game. And it's obviously 4-down territory. It just got a bit harder to convert.
Big play. Hubbard in motion. And we have another false start. And again, it was that stunt defensively. Yeah, it's going to be called. It's going to be called against the defense, Joe. And I don't know if I like that because it was kind of a little bit of a stunt. He never did go over the line, but it was enough to pull the left tackle off of his stance. And so the 5 yards yielded are given back. And it'll be 3rd down and 10. Now they're going to talk about it a little bit.
While they do, let's slow it down. Tried to get a look at that quarterback hit again earlier. Replay didn't want to cooperate then, but I think we're all set now.
De Los Santos, there's the little stunt, and it gets the left tackle off of his stance. Now, the Crusaders want to run a play here, but there's still a conference going on. Hey, guys, get back in your huddle. You might be at the 50, not the 45. The Crusaders, look, they're looking to go, Joe. And now the officials on the far sideline are saying, get back in your huddle. We're not running a play. Offsides on the defense. So, again, they'll move the ball up 5 yards, make it back to a 3rd and 10.
That's a big 5 yards for the Crusaders because a 3rd and 15, a lot more daunting at this point in the game than a 3rd and 10. Both not ideal, but the 3rd and 15 was going to make things infinitely more difficult on this offense. And now an opportunity with 3rd and 10 to go, 2:19 on the clock.
Not much time has come off the clock on this drive for the Crusaders. Remember, they do have 1 timeout remaining. Hubbard is in motion. The fake to him underneath. Williams took a shot. The fumble is out. The ball is loose. And it's corrections football. The 6th turnover of the game for the Crusaders. And he got walloped, did Williams. Another unabated to the quarterback. The blitz coming in from the right side of the defense. And that play was dead to rights.
It sure was. Never a chance for Williams on this one. And it didn't look like they brought the same kind of pressure that we've seen throughout this quarter and in the second half. But the Crusaders just not blocking the rushers who were sent. And Williams is walking.
He's seething a little bit, and I get it because when you're a right outside linebacker or a right defensive end and, you know, you're coming in on the blind side of the quarterback and you have not been picked up, this is like a dream come true for a right outside linebacker right here. That's the play that you dream about the night before a game that you want to make, and they made it. 1:59 to go. So, Joe, that was also the 2-minute warning, at least by accounts of the field clock. The Crusaders can stop it one more time, but after that, the Boldest could conceivably take a knee, and this game will be over.
Well, the clock is running now as well.
Yeah, which is odd. Flags everywhere. We want to thank all of you who've tuned in today. We've had near like 100, 115 viewers at all times during the course of this game. We thank you so much for choosing to spend your Saturday with us. We hope to bring you more New York Crusaders and Big East football throughout the season. Be sure, of course, to subscribe to our network, youtube.com/@PDF Sportsnet. Check us out, what we're doing on PDF Sportsnet on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. Find out where we will be next. For now, it'll be part of the AAL2, the American Arena League 2, and following the Jersey Bearcats in arena football. Those are our next scheduled broadcasts. 1st and 5.
Field clock, Dave, has been reset to 2 minutes.
2 minutes. So that was probably the 2-minute warning. Threadgill lowers the boom and gets the first down. Now the clock is running. Remember, the Crusaders can stop it one more time, but with a first down on that play, it would hardly matter.
Well, I've tried to operate the manual clock for the last 4 minutes, Dave.
It's been impossible.
It has been a nightmare.
So, again, the Boldest in no rush, and the Crusaders looking more and more like they're not going to try and stop the clock here, and this game will come to an end. But, Joe, it was a game about defense. The Department of Corrections, they forced 6 turnovers, and they essentially score the game-winning points. Goes back to that safety, kind of a, self-inflicted wound for the Crusaders, but still, it's a feather in the cap of this defense. They score the 2 points, and it's the difference in the game.
If you're the Crusaders looking back on this game, you're going to see that the plays that beat you in this game are plays that were not forced by the other side. They snapped the ball through their quarterback in the end zone after being backed up on penalties they committed pre-snap. They fumbled the football immediately following the exchange between quarterback and running back. That was an unforced error. There was no one in the backfield yet. The running back just coughed up the ball. And we've seen those kinds of mistakes all game from the Crusaders. You take some of those away, and they probably win this game because defensively they were really good in this game. And Corrections on the other side was just about equally as good on defense. That being said, the costly mistake they made was an error that came from the defense forcing a huge turnover that resulted in points.
Yes.
However, the Corrections defense forcing 6 turnovers on the other side, very impressive stat. A lot of those, however, were helped by miscues from the Crusaders.
Yeah, we've seen more points scored by defenses plural in this game than we have offense. A total of 7 turnovers, 6 by the Crusaders, 1, and that was the pick 6 against the Corrections. And on 1st and 10, the Corrections did end up taking a timeout. There was also a field timeout as well, but there's 1:07 left, and it's a first down. So, conceivably, the Boldest could just take a knee here and be in victory formation. But they're going to run some plays here, try to get some of their players involved. They go up the middle, Threadgill bouncing off a couple of tackles, but he's held to a 3 or 4 yard loss. Crusaders not calling their last timeout. And the clock is moving now.
I'm curious to know why they're running plays if they're going to run the ball. If you're trying to score.
You're risking a fumble, especially out of shotgun, Joe, because you're risking the bad snap on a shotgun. You're risking the exchange to the running back. And I think you're right. I think if you're going to run the football here, you just take a knee because you're just asking for some trouble in a game where you've seen how the ball has reacted here. Now, they only have to run one more play by our accounts inside, and now we have a timeout against Corrections. So they call timeout with 1 second left on the play clock. The clock is still running, even though there's been a timeout called. So there's that. But we believe there's about 11 seconds left here. Corrections has called their second timeout, and they'll run one more play. And it doesn't look like it'll be out of victory formation. If you're the Crusaders, you are thinking ball, 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 although it looks like Adles will get the shotgun snap and just go to a knee. And that's exactly what he should do. And this game is officially in the books. It got hairy at times. It was sloppy. But we got treated to a good one, and one that went right down to the wire. But in the end, it was the Department of Corrections, New York's Boldest, scoring an 8-6 victory over the New York Crusaders. The Crusaders will fall to 0-2 on the season. For the Boldest, they lift their record up to 1-0, officially their first action of the season. And they score themselves a victory here on their home field. Joe, final thoughts before we wrap this one up.
Well, first, for Corrections in this game, their defense forcing 6 turnovers, obviously phenomenal. There were some big plays they allowed along the way. It seems like they really fixed what was causing those coverage breakdowns as the game went on. The Crusaders had a tougher time throwing the ball down the field as this game moved toward halftime. And then in the second half, they didn't have much of anything down the field. If you're the Crusaders, you really need to correct a lot of the pre-snap miscues that we've seen, the penalties that back them up time and time again. Of course, 6 turnovers, far too many. That being said, we did see some good things from the New York offense in the first half, and their defense was strong throughout the entirety of this game. I think that's the biggest positive takeaway for both of these teams. The way they played defensively, offensively on the side of the Boldest, they did what they needed to do offensively in this game until the fourth quarter when that pick six completely changed this game. You take away that one catastrophic error, and they did enough to win this game on the offensive side just by virtue of protecting the football, because the Crusaders did not do that. Sometimes you have to know your opponent and take what they give you. The Crusaders gave the football up 6 times. It's very hard to win when you do that.
It might not make me very popular, but I will take an 8-6 game over a 48-46 game any day of the week. This was a fun one for us, but it is a final, and that will do it for us here from East Rockaway. For the entire crew here at East Rockaway High School, the great folks here at East Rockaway and the Department of Corrections for having us, for our camera operator, Vinny Massicole, for my broadcast colleague, Joe Foreman. My name is David Pizzuto, wishing you a great rest of your Saturday, a great rest of the week. Thank you once again. Your final score here, Department of Corrections, New York's Boldest 8, the New York Crusaders 6. This has been New York Crusaders football on your home for the Big East and New York Crusaders, PDF Sports Network. Thanks for joining us.